My idiot friend hired an outside freelancer to do a large portion of her job at a place that we both work at, which essentially put our entire company at risk of having its data leaked out to the world. But after I approached her as her supervisor and told her to stop, she demanded that I say nothing and just cover for her in the meantime, as she said it's not that big of a deal and that all the work's getting done anyways, claiming that I should clearly have no problem with it. But instead of sitting by idly, I decided to go straight to my boss, telling them exactly what's going on, resulting in my friend being fired. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'm the jerk or not, because my friend group has basically turned on me and are starting to call me a traitor. And now I just don't know what to do. Here's what's currently going on. Subscribe to AmITheJerk and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Alright, I'm on a really tough spot at work and I need an honest reality check on how to handle this. I'm a supervisor for a small team at a company. A few months ago, I helped my close friend, who I will call Jenny, get a job on my team. Everything seemed fine at first, but recently I found out something that completely shocked me. Jenny has been paying an outside freelancer to do a large portion of her daily workload for her. Even worse, to do this, she gave this external person access to our internal company data and systems. And let me tell you something, this is a massive violation of our security policies and our contracts. Now, as her supervisor, I realized that if data got leaked, or if upper management found out through an audit, I would likely be fired alongside her for letting it happen on my watch. I pulled Jenny aside privately and I told her she had to stop immediately. She's got to revoke the person's access and come clean to our boss. But she refused to do that, saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal. You know, the work's getting done anyways." And then she begged me to cover for her as a friend. Now, I couldn't sleep for days worrying about the liability itself. But ultimately, I decided I could not risk my own career and reputation like that. So I went to our boss, I explained the situation, and I showed all of the evidence I would need. And guess what? Jenny was terminated immediately. But now, as a result of that, she and our mutual friends are furious with me. They're actually calling me a traitor and saying I ruined her life over a company that doesn't care about me anyways. So seriously, with all that in mind, am I really the jerk for reporting my friend to protect my job and the company's data? Because right now, I really just don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, dude, don't feel guilty about this for a second. There's no way you're the jerk. First off, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with outsourcing your work if you really want to do that. Like, if you want to subcontract someone to make your life a little bit easier, I say go for it. But if you're going to do that and you're leaking data possibly, and you're giving them access to like really sensitive, confidential information, that is where I draw the line. Like, holy crap, that's not okay. That's where it goes from like a frugal opportunity with a legitimate organization that probably won't notice, all the way over to something that's absolutely catastrophic and could cause so many problems across the board, dude. You don't give some stranger access to the data in your company. What are you doing? Like, holy crap, that is not how you do it. That's like the exact opposite of what you should be doing. And the fact that she tried to go to you and be like, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal. By the way, you should cover for me so we can both be fired." Like, that's basically what she's saying. Like, what are you talking about? Bro, I like my job. I like the benefits of this company. Like, who cares that it's a corporation that sure really doesn't care about me in the long run? But guess what? I'm involved with it and I enjoy my job. I'm good at it and they like me as well. So they're clearly keeping me around for a reason. Like, what are you talking about? You think I'm going to risk a supervisor role just so you can get away with, I don't know, breaking some very serious rules? That's insane. Like, that is not a friend in my opinion. And I don't think Jenny's even close to a friend. She's one of those people who uses everybody around her, screws around, and then expects you to pick up the pieces. And it's like, dude, not this time. Absolutely not. Because bro, the original poster is 100% right. When this falls apart, yeah, Jenny's gonna get fired, but the original poster is absolutely gonna get fired too. And with that, there goes all of your letters of recommendation, there goes all of your benefits, there goes your chances at having a solid job probably for the rest of the year. Like, that really sucks. And with the fall and like holiday season right around the corner, that would be terrible. I would hate everything about that. Like, I don't know about you, but that would royally piss me off. I would never forgive Jenny ever, because like, oh yeah, I was a good friend, but guess what? We're now unemployed. Isn't that great? We could be unemployed together. So no, dude, you didn't do anything wrong. These people suck. All of your friends trying to be like, "You're a traitor." They are completely out of their mind and they're not good friends at all. Like, I would happily find a new group of friends if that's how they're going to treat me. Because bro, there is no reason for you to have to risk your job for someone on your team who's clearly just asking to get fired. Like, absolutely not. You did the right thing and I would not feel bad about that for a second. But seriously, leave a comment down below. What would you do in this situation? Would you cover for your friend and risk your job and hope all this just goes away? Or would you stand on business like the person in this story and be like, "Oh, I'm not risking my job. I'm going to my boss. I'm telling them everything"? Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Subscribe to AmITheJerk if you haven't already. I mean, you've made it this far into the video. You gotta subscribe at this point. But also, while you're at it, check out AmITheGenius. They're gonna be linked down below in the description, and we love them so much. They're like that cool younger brother who helps you sneak in through the window at night after partying until like 2 in the morning. And like your parents think that you're actually in bed, but in reality, you've been partying at the sorority house all night. Like it's the cool little brother that's like, cool, I'll get the ladder. Just get in the house, stupid. I'm trying to cover for you. That's AmITheGenius. Subscribe to him. You won't regret it. Speaking of not regretting it, I don't regret doing any of my voice impressions because you guys apparently like it. In fact, John Simmons is requesting a new one from Mortal Kombat. They want me to say the following: finish him. Fatality. Did you like it? Let me know in the comment section. Did that work? And also leave more voice impressions. I enjoy doing this and it's funny and I don't care if it doesn't fit the video. I'm gonna do it anyways and no one can stop me. But seriously, I love the community. I love you guys. You guys are so much fun. Reading your comments are hilarious. But dude, if you yourself have experiences you want to share with the world that are more than just a comment on one of the videos, then go to AmITheJerk.com/submit to submit your own stories. But without further ado, let's get back to the video and on to the next story. Am I the jerk for calling my best friend a loser and basically calling him out for all the crap he was saying to me after he started going out of his way to embarrass me in front of our girlfriends and friend group? Because now that the dust is settled, I am being expected to apologize and at least try to move on, even though I didn't do anything wrong and I was literally just defending myself. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so for a bit of context, I have a best friend who I've known ever since childhood. We basically grew up together. Like we went to the same schools, parties, church, extracurriculars, literally everything all the time. Well, I met the female versions of myself and my best friend 3 years ago. I introduced the other one to my buddy, and we both have been in very happy relationships with our respective girlfriends. We literally did everything together. We did double dates, we were hanging out, we were playing video games all the time together, we were going out to do like fun couple stuff and all this other things, etc. and so forth. But things started falling apart when my girlfriend and I moved out to our apartment downtown. Things were great in the beginning. They'd come over every weekend and we'd drink and watch movies together, but slowly, and I'm not really sure why, he just started becoming aggressive with me. Like, for example, I'm addicted to this one video game. I probably have like 3,000 hours in this game, and when I'm not working or doing something with my girlfriend, I'll probably be playing that game specifically. Well, the next time we all hopped on together, he started making fun of me for playing that game, saying that I had no life and that I still sucked at it. And it wasn't just us in the call, like a bunch of our friends and both of our girlfriends were there as well. Now, I really did just laugh it off the first few times, but it started spreading into other things. Now, for reference, I'm a lanky dude, I will be honest. I'm not really that big, but my best friend is. So he constantly tries to belittle me in group settings by squeezing my biceps. Well, progressively, these types of things got worse until finally we both just kind of exploded, and I called out every single one of his flaws. I started off with the fact that, oh yeah, you don't have a job, and you've got no desire to look for one in all the years that we've been out of school. Or the fact that he most definitely has at least the same amount of hours in the same video game that I play, plus all the others that he plays. Or the fact that I introduced him to his now girlfriend, and he literally milks her for all of her money. Yet still, he chose to attack me after every time I've held my tongue and put his feelings first. Well, after this explosion, we haven't really talked since. His girlfriend called me and apologized on his behalf, and you know what? It made me even angrier that he didn't have the guts to call me himself. She begged me to talk to him and apologize because our situations are different, because apparently I'm kicking him while he's down. But I straight up told her that no, he can eat crap. Come to me face to face and then maybe we can discuss this. Meanwhile, my girlfriend's also asking me to just talk to him to keep the peace. And honestly, right now, I really don't know what to do. I'm really conflicted here. He really tried to hurt me, even though all I've ever done is be there for him. I get that you don't fight fire with fire, but honestly, I was mad. And at this point, I don't know what to do about this. Okay, in my opinion, I think keeping the peace can work sometimes, especially if the person involved is like reasonable, or at least someone you can talk to and have an open conversation with. Like if it's a loved one or like a spouse or a girlfriend or something like that. Like I think there is a universe in which like, okay, we're both adults, we're both responsible, we're both reasonable people, let's just pick our battles and be better to each other. Like in that scenario, sure, keeping the peace absolutely can work, dude. I've done that many times and I'm sure you who are listening have also done the same thing. But on the other hand, if you're dealing with someone who's irrational and immature and someone who is absolutely starting something they don't want to finish, then keeping the peace never works, dude. It doesn't work to be the bigger person because it literally allows them to do that crap more. If anything, it it validates their decision and they're like, oh yeah, you're just gonna sit there and take it. When it's like, dude, you should not be forced to do that. That's insane. So in my opinion, yeah, you fought fire with fire, but you were giving him everything he was giving you, and he got a taste of his own medicine and suddenly he didn't like it. Like, screw that guy. He needs to apologize. He's been making fun of you and putting you down in front of your girlfriend. Like, are you kidding me right now? That's not okay. Like, that is low class in and of itself. Holy crap. And then he doesn't have the guts to come to you personally, someone you've known since childhood, sending his girlfriend to talk to you. Like, if that's not an admission of guilt, I don't know what is. So no, you shouldn't keep the peace. He should be the one coming to you to apologize. And seriously, if I was in your shoes, I would hold my tongue and be like, absolutely not. I don't accept any apology unless it's coming from him specifically. For me personally, I would also force him to make an apology in public, because here's the thing, if you're gonna start stuff with me in public, you better believe you're gonna apologize in public. You don't get to humiliate me in public and expect me to be like, oh yeah, privately, I understand. Thank you so much for addressing this. Like, oh, I don't think so, baby. You're absolutely gonna stand in front of our entire friend group and apologize for what you've done. Like, in a perfect scenario, that's absolutely what I would demand of them. Because that's ridiculous, dude. You do not get to humiliate me in public only to then hide away and apologize in private. I'm so sorry I did that. Sorry I made you look like an idiot. Like, screw that. No, you're gonna say that publicly or it doesn't even mean anything. But what do you think? Do you think the original poster should stand their ground and expect their friend to come to them? Or should they just like let bygones be bygones? Should they remember like the history they have with this guy and just be like, look, let's just make it water under the bridge and move on? Which side of this fence do you stand on? Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. I think this is a very tricky situation, but I definitely think it's one that we can all relate to a certain extent. Today, I need to confess that I stopped reminding my boyfriend about anything in his life, just to see how long it would take for his life to fall apart. And let me tell you something, it didn't take long, and honestly, the results were hilarious. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of backstory, I've been with my boyfriend for almost 4 years, and for basically the entire relationship, I've been the person remembering everything for the both of us. We're talking stuff like rent, or like, I don't know, birthdays, appointments, stuff involving like servicing his car, his mom's medication, like literally all of it falls on me. He always says that he's just bad with dates, and I'm just naturally more organized, so somehow it just slowly became my job, I guess. A few months ago, we had an argument because I forgot to remind him about his brother's birthday dinner. And mind you, this dinner was mentioned in the family group chat like 50 times, but he still got annoyed with me because apparently I knew he would forget, and I could have just reminded him before he made other plans. And it's like, what are you talking about? I don't know, something about that just really pissed me off so badly. Not even the birthday thing itself, but the way he said it, like remembering his own life was some service I suddenly stopped providing. So you know what? I decided fine. I'm not reminding him about anything anymore. Now, I didn't announce this because good lord, I already knew he would be saying something dramatic. Instead, I just quietly stopped. No reminders about going to the dentist tomorrow, no reminding him about insurance payments, or telling him that we're nearly out of cat food, no checking his work schedule for him, like literally nothing. If he asked me something directly, I would answer him, of course, but I stopped volunteering information like I'm some kind of personal calendar. And let me tell you something, the first month this happened was honestly a disaster. He missed his dentist appointment and had to pay like a cancellation fee. He forgot to buy his coworker a birthday gift until the literal morning of, and then blamed shipping times. He ran out of clean work shirts twice because apparently the laundry basket usually empties itself, all through divine intervention. He got a late fee on one of his bills and spent like an hour ranting about how companies make due dates confusing on purpose. And this is the part that really makes me feel horrible, but honestly, I enjoyed it. Not like evil villain laughing while he suffers, but every single time something went wrong, I felt this tiny bit of satisfaction because finally it proved I wasn't imagining how much stuff I do for him. He kept saying that he was having the most stressful month ever, and I was sat there thinking, no babe, you're just experiencing your own responsibilities without me putting pillows under every single consequence. Oh, and then last week, he missed an important work meeting because the time changed. He showed me the email and said, you saw this too, I mean, why didn't you tell me? I then said, because, well, it's not my meeting. He then just stared at me and later said he feels like I don't care about him anymore because according to him, oh, partners are supposed to help each other out. And yes, obviously they are, but helping someone and basically managing their entire existence literally are not the same thing. So how do we reach a point where me not monitoring a grown man's emails is somehow emotional neglect? I still haven't told him that this was like intentional from the start, but he just thinks that I've been distracted lately. But now, after a while, I do feel a little bit guilty because technically, yeah, I could could have prevented most of this. It would have taken me like 10 seconds to remind him, if that. But I also feel like if I start again, then nothing changes. And then one day I'm gonna be 70 years old reminding this man where his glasses are while they're literally on his face. Now, don't get me wrong, I love him, I really do. But I don't want to be his mom. At the same time, secretly watching someone fail just to prove a point is kind of insane behavior. So honestly, I don't know, maybe I'm the problem too. But how hard is it to remember your own dentist appointment, like genuinely? Because this whole thing is really messy and I just don't know what to do anymore. Okay, honestly, I think I would find a pretty good sick satisfaction out of this too. Like seriously, that is so annoying. You're telling me you run his entire life and this guy's trying to be like, oh wow, man, suddenly when you're not saying everything for me, it just seems like you're neglecting me. And it's like, dude, I don't think he knows what neglect looks like, because it really seems like if you're not there, he's just lost. Wandering around in the darkness, absolutely like, oh man, where's the street? How do I get home? Like, bro, we got Will from Stranger Things out here getting lost in the woods and getting gobbled up by demogorgons. Like, what is going on right now? So personally, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't feel that bad, because this is kind of what it's like to be an adult. You just kind of have to get things done and figure it out on your own, and sometimes you got help and sometimes you don't. I would argue, like, unless you're married and you have like a happy relationship, you're most likely just going to be on your own figuring things out, because even family falls apart sometimes, and like you don't really have an anchor for like getting your crap done. And that's just being an adult. Like, you have to figure things out and you have to adapt as they like come your way and possibly fall apart, which is mostly what happens to pretty much everybody, especially me. Oh my god. No, but dude, seriously, I would not feel bad about this. I think you're completely justified in like trying to take a step back. But I will say I would be pretty interested to see his reaction if you're like, I did this on purpose. Like, this is straight out of Death Note. You're just like L being like, I know who you are. You're the criminal and I caught you red-handed. Like, that could be fun. But I also understand that like, oh man, I kind of feel guilty. I'm like not helping my boyfriend out. But I think if anything, this could be like a really good like eye-opening experience for him, where you literally spell out to this guy like, hey, all the things you're struggling with, I've been intentionally not telling you because like it's time for you to figure your stuff out. Not saying that you wouldn't help him out, but like everything, like come on, dude. That's really irresponsible in a relationship, and something has to change in that regard. So I don't know, man, if you do go that route, hopefully your boyfriend's like mature enough to be like, oh, I understand, I love you, babe, sorry about that. But like, it really depends on like how emotionally like secure and mature he is, because if he's just an idiot, this is going to be like, well, I knew you didn't care. And based on what you're describing, it kind of seems like his brain is full of cottage cheese, so it's like, I don't know, maybe this will go well or not. But either way, regardless of what you choose to do, this was hilarious and in my opinion, completely justified. My boyfriend wants more of my time, but honestly, I feel like I barely have any left even for myself. And now as a result, my boyfriend's sending me TikTok videos that are essentially guilt-tripping me, as these videos highlight the bare minimum that a girlfriend should be doing, which are things that I'm definitely not doing in any way, shape, or form. And right now, I'm really pissed off at this, and I just don't know what to do. Here's basically what's going on. Okay, I feel like I'm going slightly insane over this, and I really need some advice. For starters, my boyfriend and I have been together for a little bit over a year now, and overall, I absolutely adore him. He's smart, he's caring, he's handsome, I never have to worry about him in social situations, and he's genuinely a really great guy. As sad as it sounds, I don't know if I've ever truly been in love with anyone, so I'm not even sure what the feeling is supposed to be like. I'm aware that I have a very avoidant attachment to people, but I care about him deeply. One thing is that I don't really find him particularly funny, and trust me, I know that sounds horrible. He laughs a lot and we do have fun together, but I'm usually laughing at situations we end up in, or when he's being unintentionally stupid rather than at his actual jokes. If anything, I think I'm probably the funnier one in the relationship. Now, the bigger issue is that I'm a huge introvert, and I really value my alone time. I genuinely enjoy spending time with him, but I also really look forward to going home and having like my own space. We commute to and from work together 3 days a week, so we usually spend those evenings together too. The other 2 weekdays, he works remotely, which means I realistically only get like one evening completely to myself each week. But then by the weekend, I often feel like I haven't had enough time to like mentally recharge. It's not that I don't want to see him, like I really do, but I end up feeling drained because I never seem to get enough time alone. When I do choose to spend like a weekend just focusing on my own hobbies, such as painting, drawing, or playing video games, he'll sometimes complain that I've been sitting at my desk all day, that I don't want to go out, or that I should be doing chores instead. The frustrating part is that I often can't get those chores done when he's at my place because he mostly just sits on his phone, and either I feel bad about not giving him attention, or he complains that I'm not giving him enough attention. It feels like I'm expected to like either entertain him or ignore everything else I need to do. Essentially, I have one evening after work each week to get all my chores done and try to mentally recharge before the next day. I've managed to get the weekends to myself, so at least I don't have to leave my house then. On top of that, I know I need to start working out because I've gained some weight, but with so little time to myself, I end up up prioritizing the hobbies that actually help me unwind. It makes me feel guilty for wanting time alone, and honestly, it becomes exhausting. But that leads us all to the thing that's actually driving me crazy. Lately, he keeps sending me these TikToks that are basically along the lines of, oh, come cook my husband's lunch with me at 5 in the morning, or things that are like the bare minimum every girlfriend should be doing for her boyfriend. Stuff like that. And let me tell you something, every single time I see one, I get irrationally angry. Maybe it's because we both work full time. Maybe it's because we don't even live together yet, although we are planning to move in together soon. Whatever the reason, these videos make me feel like he's trying to push some expectation that I should be taking care of him in a way that I have absolutely no interest in doing. And I gotta say, I genuinely don't think anything he's done in our entire relationship has irritated me more than these TikTok videos. And because I'm already feeling drained by the lack of alone time and the comments about how I spend my free time, those videos hit a nerve every single time. So do you think this is something that can be even talked through, or is this like a lost cause? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, first off, let's pump the brakes, dude. Slam that e-brake. Because what are you talking about? Oh, we plan on moving in together. I don't know about anyone else, and maybe someone in the comment section can let me know, but holy crap, does this not sound like a good fit. This sounds like one of those situations that like, oh, you think the problems are bad now? Just wait till you're rubbing shoulders with him. Oh, what's that? 24/7? Like, holy crap, if he's guilt-tripping you now about not doing like the bare minimum of what a girlfriend needs to do, then trust me, it's only gonna get worse the second you move in together. Like, I understand that you like him and that he is a genuinely great guy, but I also have to say that it just doesn't seem like you two are a good fit for each other. He's clearly wanting more out of you, and you physically just can't do more. You're exhausted, your work is draining, you need time for yourself and all this other stuff. And on the other side of this coin, it seems like he really just needs a lot more attention and like affection. He needs you constantly just always next to him and loving him. And it's like, I don't know, that seems really obnoxious, and it really seems like you're both on completely opposite ends of the spectrum in this regard. So sure, dude, you could absolutely broach the subject and come to him and be like, hey, we need to fix this. This right here that you're doing, this thing you're doing is obnoxious. It's driving me crazy. Like, I could see a universe where this conversation is had in like a mature way and things are worked out and everything's sunshine and rainbows. Like, that's completely possible. But if I'm being completely honest, I just think it's a fruitless endeavor, and I just don't see this working out in your favor at all. So honestly, all I could say is best of luck with this. I think your boyfriend sounds just a little immature, and also I think you sound way too overwhelmed to be having like a healthy relationship. So yeah, hopefully this works out, but if it doesn't, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. My entitled mother would barge into my house anytime she wanted, whether I was there or not, and then go rummaging through my belongings as if she owned the place. And after dealing with this for so many years, I finally put my foot down and told her to stop, and as a result, she went ballistic on me. Here's what happened. So my mother has always had a hard time with boundaries. Growing up, she was fond of telling me it was her room because it was her house, and she could come and go as she pleased and snoop through my space at will. The same with my car or my phone or anything else. No matter if I was paying for it with my own money or not, she had rights to everything. After I got married and moved across the country, she followed a year later just to be close, in case I might need her. She settled in a town about an hour away, and I saw her a few times a month. She was generally a good grandmother, very involved, and nobody could say she didn't love my daughter a ton. She was given a key to my house for various reasons and didn't overuse it too much, but she had a hard time recognizing that I was an adult now, and I made the rules for my own children, not her. Mild things like wanting to hand feed my 7-year-old and telling me I should allow things that I did not, as well as arguing with me in front of her about my rules, that kind of stuff. After I separated from my ex-husband and moved into my own house with my daughter, she was again given a key for emergencies, and this is when she started to cross some lines. She would go shopping and drop things off at my house, still an hour away from her own house, and just leave bags of things in various places. She's always been a bit of a compulsive shopper and a hoarder, if I'm being completely honest. But these things were usually useful. Cases of paper towels, bottles of laundry detergent, piles of conditioner, that kind of thing. But she'd just show up unannounced and leave things in my house, usually in my unfinished basement floor. The basement flooded every time it rained for half an hour, and these things frequently frequently got wet or ruined. I asked her to stop multiple times because I was tired of throwing away soaked rolls of toilet paper, but she continued doing it the whole time I lived there. It was incredibly frustrating. Then I moved back across the country and she again came with me, actually living in my house for a few months until she could find her own. And this was an absolute disaster. Her old space invading behavior from my childhood came roaring back into my life. She would barge into my bedroom and my bathroom without knocking. She would argue with me about my parenting and openly disparage me to my child when I wasn't around. She would buy 15 bottles of dishwashing liquid because they were on sale and got angry when I told her I didn't need them. I eventually asked her to move out for the sake of our relationship. She did find her own place, but kept the key to my house. Her random drop-ins increased to multiple times a week. I would come home to whatever random haul she brought that day just sitting on my table, or she would need to borrow a carving knife and just let herself in while I was at work to go grab it. I'd be in the shower and get out to find her in my kitchen, having not gotten an answer when she knocked, so she just let herself in with my key. I asked her to stop so many times. I don't like unannounced visitors, and I hate knowing that someone was in my house without me being there. But she continued unbated. She let herself in at one point and went through my daughter's things, which prompted my daughter to ask me if she could confront her grandmother and ask her to not do that again. But my mother went ballistic when that happened and said that she would give the key back, but she never did. She continued to show up randomly, but now saying that she knew she should have called first and just forgot. My daughter and I moved again last summer, and I was adamant that my mother was not going to get a key to my house or the security code. She has continued to show up randomly, and my significant other opened the door a few times, mostly because he isn't as good at hiding as my daughter and I are. Because if he's not home, we don't answer. She showed up unannounced last week with stuff for Valentine's Day. I work from home, so I was here. I was also on a conference call, so I didn't go to the door. My significant other happened to be home and opened it for her. So she came in and chatted for about 10 minutes and then left. And this was the last straw for me. I'm over these surprise visits, especially when I'm working and my bosses can hear my dogs going nuts because someone new is in my house. So I texted her and I told her for the 100th time to please stop. I don't care what the occasion is or what she had to drop off. Just stop showing up to my house unannounced. This is a boundary that she needs to respect. And then, as you probably guess, she loses her mind. She starts screaming at me and saying, "You're a controlling brat and you can't tell me what to do. I was just trying to do something nice for Valentine's Day. And you know what? I hope you have a child in the future that's so hateful and mean as you are." And when she said this, it was honestly awful but so needed. She further went on to say that she won't do anything else for me ever again. She's having surgery next week and needed to talk to me about it. She has a supposed very busy schedule that day and lots of places to go. So that's why she couldn't call or text me first. She planned on just leaving the candy on the front porch, but my significant other opened the door, so it's his fault. And she just kept going on and on. I finally told her I wouldn't be reading or responding any further. And she just responded by saying, "Good, that's fine." Fast forward, and the silence for the last 10 days has been golden. But I feel like the teenager in a scary movie who mistakenly thinks the villain with the axe is gone, only for them to pop out of the closet later. So hopefully she respects my boundaries, because I honestly don't want to deal with her in that capacity ever again. Your mom seriously was violating your boundaries, like no joke. She followed you across the country multiple times just to be next to you so she could literally bother you. And there's no other way of putting it. She would straight up just barge into your house while you weren't there, or even while you're in the shower, just to grab stuff that she wanted. And that's not fair for you or anybody else in the slightest. That is such a violation of privacy, it's not even funny. But even in that same vein of thought, I don't blame you for giving your mom multiple chances to try and be somewhat reasonable. I mean, it is your mom after all. But with that considered, it's really inappropriate for her to be barging into your house while you're not there just to get stuff, or to drop off stuff that you don't need. That is incredibly obnoxious, and honestly, I don't blame you for setting these boundaries and telling her to please stop. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My best friend cut me off out of nowhere, and I'm really hurt and offended, and I seriously don't know what to do. So as the title suggests, I'm blocked on everything. I knew her for 14 years and knew her entire family, which I got really close to. A few years ago, I got really sick. She stepped up and went above and beyond for me. She made medical decisions decisions for me when I wasn't able to, and I honestly don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for her. She implied that she didn't approve of the new guy in my life. She told me that when him and I start dating, she's done. Now, this guy has been nothing but supportive throughout this weird time. In the past, I'd been in relationships, both romantic and platonic, that didn't make me happy. Before I got sick, I was actively working on improving myself. I was going to therapy, I was getting into hobbies, I stayed single, etc. I told her this and more, and she disagreed. She said there was real-life consequences to me being in a relationship. A few months went by, and she said that I misinterpreted our conversation, which I know I didn't. She said that I was only attracted to him because of my unhealed trauma, because he wasn't a heartthrob. To avoid back and forth, I just agreed. She said that we're different people, which we'd always joke about, and it doesn't make sense for us to be friends. I didn't argue with her because it was clear that she wanted out. I thanked her for everything, and I told her that I loved her and that I didn't want to lose her. She wished me the best of luck and said that I can contact her if stuff goes down, and then she just straight up blocked me. I am at such a loss right now. I don't understand what could have led to this. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of being ill, and I can confidently say that I can't imagine exiting someone else's life that I care about while they're ill. Her cousin just blocked me on social media as well, and I can't help but think that I've done something wrong. What should I do? It really does seem like the original poster's friend is kind of being a jerk right now. Like they're just cutting him off all of a sudden without any kind of context as to what's happening. So that to me kind of screams that there's some information we're not being told. Is there a reason why she doesn't want you to be in a relationship right now? Or is there something about the guy that she just doesn't approve of? And so she's saying, sorry, but we can't be friends if you're with them. There's something that's not quite being said that really just says to me that maybe the original poster isn't telling the full truth right now. But regardless, it really does sound like an unfortunate situation because it sounds like the original poster really did love this friend. I mean, the friend was even willing to step up and make medical decisions for them just to make sure that they're alive and healthy. Like that is a seriously big deal. So I really can't understand why you would be so attached to this person and why you would be so sad to see them go. But I really don't like the method in which this friend is leaving. They're deciding, hey, if things go really wrong, you can contact me, but otherwise you're blocked. It seems like there should have been more of a discussion involved in this instead of just being like, hey, I'm gonna block you. Oh, and by the way, my cousin's gonna block you as well. Which means to me that the original poster's friend is talking to basically everybody else about your situation besides you. And that, in my opinion, is super toxic. So whatever the truth may be, hopefully it all works out for you, because either this is really not a good friend to begin with, or she really is trying to look out for your best interest. My best friend and I wanted to share an apartment together for our last year of university, but the day we're supposed to move in, she ran away and refused to move in, and now our relationship is slowly starting to strain, all the way to the point where she's completely ghosting me, and I no longer have any contact with her, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So to start things out, we knew each other for 2 years. We attended the same college together, and even went on vacation together this summer. She originally lived 7 hours away with her boyfriend, and moved back and forth every few months just to attend classes at university. Because it was going into our last semester, we planned to move in together for the remaining months. We rented a place without seeing it in person, only via Zoom. The minute she arrived, she wanted to move out. It really was a cute place, but her boyfriend who was there to help felt sick. He had an allergy to mold. Even though they couldn't find any, she decided that was enough to not want to live here. Her reason was that her boyfriend would never be able to visit her. I felt so hurt, but I understood, and quickly organized someone else, since I couldn't afford to pay rent by myself. And it turned out I clicked extremely well with my new flatmate. She and I spent every 1 to 2 days together. My BFF got jealous and told me she wanted to see me every day, and that I should ask for meetups since she didn't want to get on my nerves. I only asked once a week though, because that was enough for me. After 3 months, she broke down crying as to why she was second priority now. I explained I naturally spend more time with my flatmate because we live together, and that I got busy with university, and if she wanted to do more, she could propose something directly, but she rarely did. She felt guilty for leaving me alone in the apartment, and I comforted her. I was not angry. Also, she complained that once I asked her to hang out after my flatmate canceled, and I invited her to meet in threes a few times. All of that made her feel less worthy. She also got hurt because I didn't answer her for 2 days when she tried to reach out, and this happened several times. I apologized to her, and I explained that I fell into a depressive episode during the exam phase. It's totally my fault, so I really was sorry. I did my best to reconcile and answer quickly, and eventually I thought things were better, but I was wrong. She turned down almost all invitations I sent to meet alone, and she now ignored my text messages for days at a time. On her last day of university, she eventually called me again. She felt uncomfortable in our friendship. Things got better over the last few weeks, but couldn't make up for the weeks before. I apologized again and promised to keep showing attention. I bought flowers, I drove to her house, and I said my goodbyes. After she moved, I asked her if I could visit her the following months, but she overread my text message and only texted me organizational stuff for university. So I asked her again if she's got any time so I could come and visit, but she didn't know. She promised to tell me soon though, and after that, I never heard from her since, and that was about 1 month ago. Since then, I've texted her twice, telling her a harmless inside joke from our vacation, as well as 2 weeks later, stating that I miss her. She is active on social media, so I know she's alive and well. I just feel so helpless, and I know that I kinda messed up. What should I do? Honestly, this is kind of a messy situation, but the fact that your friend is throwing away your friendship, all because you spent more time with your flatmate instead of her, who by the way walked out on you when you were trying to get the apartment set up, is in my opinion completely selfish. She's trying to claim there's mold in the apartment, but you then have no evidence to try and corroborate that claim? Like, come on, that's ridiculous. She put you in a really weird situation, and thankfully you were able to come out on top. And it's not like you were ignoring her or anything like that. You were just busy with university in your last year. Senior year of college is probably the most stressful in some cases. You're about to start a career, you're trying to finish on time and graduate, you're trying to get passing grades. There was a lot on your plate. I don't think any reasonable person would blame you for being busy. And also, it really seems like you were second place to her boyfriend as well, and she instead wanted you to prioritize all of your time towards her, and that's not fair in the slightest. She would always expect you to initiate stuff and would expect you to go out of your way to try and organize stuff in your free time, but she would never be willing to do the same on her end. So honestly, I just would not worry about this. If this is the end of your relationship, despite the fact that you tried to make amends for any supposed offense that you may have caused, then I truly think that's on your friend, because you've honestly done everything right in my opinion. And if she wants to ghost you and act this way, then truly that's on her. My fiance suggested a break, and now I'm conflicted on how to respond, and I seriously don't know what to do. My fiance and I have been together for almost 5 years and engaged for over a year. She had a lot of emotional problems growing up and has been diagnosed with CPTSD, among other mental health conditions. She recently stated to me that she feels like she loves me, but isn't in love with me. I can normally tell when she's having a good mental health day versus when it's a bad mental health day, and I tried to explain to her that I think those feelings are coming from her condition, because I can see the way her eyes light up and she gets excited just looking at me, or talking about our wedding or our future together, as well as future kids on her good days. While skeptical at first, she told me that her therapist seems to agree with me, saying she believes those are intrusive thoughts coming about because of her PTSD and not her actual thoughts or feelings. For full disclosure, during this time, I realized that I put my job first over her. This was not intentional, but working 50 to 60 hours a week, I would come home mentally and physically exhausted, and we didn't have the time to ourselves, whether in the house or out and about like we used to. I apologized profusely, and I promised to be better and make time for her as well as the both of us, like I had done before we got engaged. Now fast forward a few weeks later, and she suggested that we need a break. She said she needed time to figure out her stuff and make sure that it truly was intrusive thoughts and not how she actually felt. She said that we've never spent more than a week apart since we started dating, and that absence makes the heart fonder, and that after a couple weeks away, she would realize I was giving her what she needed and would come back. I'm just so lost on if she's so confident that she'll come back after the break, then why is the break even necessary in the first place? However, she's also suggested that she feels like she may be missing out and doesn't want any regrets when she gets married, because I'm the only guy she's ever done more than kiss with. How do I react and talk her through this? I'm obviously not a mental health expert, nor can I read her mind, but I'm convinced that I know her true feelings may be better than her right now. I would do anything for her, and I'm willing to give her the space if she needs it to try and figure out her thoughts, but I'm terrified I'm going to lose her, especially if there's any consideration to meet up with others during the break. It's honestly so confusing and so frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. First off, I want to say that this guy was dating her when she was 18 and he was 24. before. So I think the original poster needs to realize that quite literally, her entire adult life has been with this person. The original poster, for context, is almost 30 years old. They are probably very secure in what they want out of life, and they basically have probably seen enough to know what's going on. His girlfriend, on the other hand, is only 23 years old, and they haven't been with anybody else in their life. And also, she is only 23 years old, and she's possibly getting married to you. Like, I'm not saying that shouldn't happen, but I don't think you can possibly blame her for wanting to pump the brakes and reassess her situation. So hopefully things work out for you, because from the sounds of it, there's a lot of emotional turmoil that's going on right now, and it really does sound like this is something that she needs to work out. Today, I messed up by not apologizing to our farmer neighbors and likely ruining my parents' retirement home forever. Here's what happened. So I tried to get advice on this and stick to my principles of not offering an apology when not in the wrong, but I think it's become clear that I messed up, and I could have prevented this with a better attitude. I'm an 18-year-old female, and I live with my parents, and we moved last year from a big city to a cheaper, more rural community in the Midwest. Since my dad's retired now, and money goes further here, I'm also gonna finish up my last year of high school here. We have by far the smallest lot out here, and most of our neighbors are farmers with quite a bit of land. I don't feel like we fit in well with the neighbors, and have had some arguments with some of them and their kids. They're up early in the morning, making noise every single morning with farm machinery, and they even yelled at me for listening to rap music too loud in the car late at night, even though it was only 9 o'clock or so. And this was with a friend in high school. And most recently, they let one of their cows go into our yard when it was grazing, while I was out in the backyard, and I gave them a dirty look and stood there while they tried to get it back. Recently, I guess he talked to my dad and gave him some sort of redneck, "we don't take kindly to your behavior" kind of speech, and that wasn't how things operated around these parts, and they wanted me to apologize. So my dad asked me to, but I refused, because I think they're in the wrong towards me. I saw him out back one day, and he asked me if I had anything to say about my attitude, and I said to them, I haven't done anything wrong to you. I just think you should respect other people's property and boundaries. So he said to me, "All right then, have it your way," and just walked off. Well, my dad and I left town for spring break, but when we came back, we noticed construction was heavily underway. It was almost complete, and it was on a large shed structure right up against the property line, maybe 20 feet from our house. My mom asked a woman who lives a bit further down if they knew what it was about, and they said, "Oh yeah, I guess the word is that they've had some trouble with your daughter, and they've made the decision to put in a pig barn." My parents freaked out when they heard this, and they asked around and heard this was a known tactic to drive out unwanted neighbors, and it was very effective. My dad called the city and asked about odor nuisance laws and what can be done, but was told that the area is zoned agriculture and that it was more of an honor system thing, that farmers wouldn't do that without more land. But technically, he was allowed to have up to 200 pigs on the property. He asked the neighbor if he would reconsider, but he said that the order of pigs is already scheduled and his mind was made up. Now my dad is furious with me and frantic about what to do. At first, I told him to just ignore it and let them do what they're gonna do. But from the people I've talked to online, they're saying that's probably not going to be possible for us. I thought he was overreacting at first, but now I'm facing the prospect that I really did crash the value of their property for good, and that we're all about to be very miserable. They finished construction on the barn, so I guess the moment of truth is finally on its way. What an awful thing to do to somebody. Like seriously, that is awful. Here you have people who are just trying to mind their own business, and they're literally just trying to live their lives. And sure, the original poster was kind of being rude a little bit, I guess, but as far as we can tell, they only played loud music at like 9 o'clock in their car. Like that's really not that bad. And they may have given a dirty look to somebody in their backyard. So it's really bizarre to me that this farmer would be so thin-skinned that they have to be like, "You need to apologize right now, or else I'm gonna build a pig barn right next to your house." Like, talk about the overreaction of the century. Here's an idea. Maybe keep your stupid cow off of other people's property and leave people alone. Let them live their lives. Unless there's other things going on that the original poster clearly did not share with the class, it doesn't sound like anything they did would warrant this kind of overreaction. So hopefully all of this works out for you, because honestly, I really do see you guys moving in the next few months, because living in that kind of environment next to pigs and all of their waste, if you know what I mean, is going to be absolutely miserable, and there's no way that's going to work in the slightest. An entitled Karen prevents a cancer patient from ringing the celebratory bell that would state that they are cancer-free. free, and instead demands that her spoiled child should ring the bell instead, claiming that their stupid child deserves to ring this bell way more than this recovering cancer patient. And I've never seen this level of cruelty and entitlement in my entire life. Here's what happened. So I first off want to say there's so many good things happening in my life, and one of those being that my body is cancer-free. But with the good comes the bad, as well as this mind-boggling encounter that happened as I was leaving the clinic this morning. I was just a witness, and the lady who was the target of Mama Karen and the entitled brat was happy for me to share this with the world. So for those of you unfamiliar with a cancer ward or a clinic where chemo is administered, and I pray you always will be unfamiliar with it, there is a little brass bell. The bell is a symbol of hope for all. It marks the end of treatment and the ringing in of a new chapter, and that new chapter is hopefully cancer-free. For me, I vomited right before I rang the bell because the anxiety of the unknown was almost as bad as chemo itself. But that's a story for another time. Today, it was Jane's turn to ring the bell. Jane is not her real name. Jane is a really lovely lady. She's 58 years old with stage 2 ovarian cancer. She had a hysterectomy followed by chemo. Jane's diagnosis is great, but she's had it rough. During the hysterectomy, she almost bled out due to undiagnosed complications, and this left her hospitalized for over 3 weeks. It delayed her treatment by over a month and left her fearing for the worst. Jane really is the most lovely woman you could ever meet. She's the grandma that everyone wants to have, but is kind of glad that they don't. She's funny and loving, but can give you a look that makes you back away like you're staring down a hungry grizzly bear. Everyone that interacts with Jane loves her, and honestly, the woman saved my sanity on more than one occasion during my treatment. Another thing that may differ from ward to ward is the chemo room itself. The patients in ours sit in a little oval room that's like a giant lounge with comfy chairs and a little TV. There are drinks and biscuits off to one side and room enough for 10 patients and up to 2 visitors. As I was leaving my appointment, I saw Jane's daughter, who informed me today was the day. So I decided to stick around to see her ring the bell, and I am so glad that I did. A couple weeks ago, a new patient joined the group. We will call him Sam. That's not his real name. Sam seems like a relatively nice older gentleman with an absolute awful excuse of a daughter and a grandchild. In the limited interactions I've had with these two entitled brats, I've seen the daughter stealing biscuits off of people who are currently hooked up to chemo machines, as well as the mother screaming at nurses for reprimanding the child when she attempted to rip the cannulas out of patients' arms. I genuinely have no idea why the facility hasn't banned this entitled Karen and her stupid brat. Well, like I said, today was the day that Jane would ring the bell. Unlike some places where the bell is on the wall, our unit has a little old-fashioned brass bell that the nurses keep behind the desk 90% of the time. Today, just as Jane was getting ready to hopefully walk out for the final time, the nurse brought the bell over to the little side table. At first, the little fallen angel didn't notice the bell. She was too busy attempting to crush the souls of the elderly, as well as the souls of the sick, by playing with her switch. Not loud enough to be kicked out, but just loud enough to be annoying and incredibly distracting. Once Jane was ready, the nurse stood by the little side table and made a short speech about Jane and her final day of the journey. Just as the speech was wrapping up, the tiny terror shot out of nowhere, almost knocking Jane to the ground. She reached up and grabbed the bell. Now Jane, being the no-nonsense granny that she is, took the bell out of baby Beelzebub's hands and firmly but gently said, "No, honey, that isn't for you. It's not a toy." And my gods, did that unleash some kind of mythological demon? Because the screech that child released at being told no was loud enough to shatter glass. This entitled brat lunged at Jane, trying to grab the bell from her hand. All the while, the entitled Karen of a mother stood there and started screaming at Jane. She started to say, "You can't do that. She's an innocent child. What kind of disgusting woman takes a toy from an innocent child? You're a horrible person. Give her back that bell right now. You don't need it. She deserves it more." Honestly, this entitled Karen and all the things she was saying was a lot. It also wasn't even a conversation. I'm pretty sure she just growled it all in one breath. The heartbeat screeches went on for about 30 seconds of just incomprehensible nonsense. Eventually, Bertha Big Mac waddled her way over to Jane to try and take the bell from her. But Jane did not have time for this stupid lady. Jane's got a bell to ring and a life to live. So as this rampaging rhino gets up to Jane, Jane goes full heathen mode on her. She looks this entitled Karen dead in the eye and says to her something I honestly will never forget. She says, "Your father must have been the bad guys during World War II in his past life if he got to be lumped up with such a sorry excuse for a daughter. And when she said this took everybody by surprise, as there was a brief pause before Jane unleashed everything that she had been wanting to say to this Cerberus. Jane continued, "Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to finish a round of treatment with you and your obnoxious brat around, making everybody's lives miserable? I know God is testing us, but my God, we already have cancer now. Do I have to be saddled up with you two as well? You are disgusting. You are entitled and you are selfish. You are poorly behaved and your child is just as awful as you are." And I hate saying that to an innocent child, but my God, she's awful. I've never hated children before until I met yours, because she's truly that awful. She's not been kicked out of school because the teachers are targeting her. She's been kicked out of school because she's an entitled bully, just like her entitled stupid mother. And if you want any hope of her having a decent life, you'd better become a decent parent and correct some of her behavior. But oh, that's right, that would require correcting your own behavior. You disgusting, abominable excuse for a human being. It was glorious, awful, awkward, and silent. Betty Big Mouth had suddenly been struck dumb. The tantruming Tara was gaping like a fish out of water. And then there was Sam. Sam broke the silence when he started laughing, like a deep belly, full-bodied laugh. The entitled Karen looked horrified. She was angry, mystified, and humiliated as her father laughed hysterically. And to be fair, I don't think any of us knew how to react. And what felt like an hour, but was most likely just about a minute, Sam stopped laughing and told his daughter and granddaughter that they can either sit down and shut up or go wait in the car. He then told Jane to go ahead and ring the bell. The slain beast and her stupid kids slinked back to their seats, where they both sat shell-shocked, while Jane rang the bell. We clapped, some of the cheap seats clapped a little too enthusiastically, and then Jane, her daughter, and I sauntered out of the room. Jane and I parted ways at the hospital entrance, and I wish her the world of luck, but I have a feeling that she won't need it. If you can slay 2 Karens in one 90-second rant, cancer is nothing. I love Jane, but my God, I'm so glad she isn't my grandma. Jane is absolutely amazing. I think when you go through that much turmoil and that much anxiety towards an illness that you have, dealing with an entitled Karen and their stupid brat is probably the least of your worries. She handled that like a pro. She let out every frustration she's been dealing with and let them know exactly what was up. And honestly, it was so well deserved. That entitled Karen and her stupid child were so out of line, it's not even funny. Like, there's literally no excuse that would excuse the way they were acting. And I'm so surprised that Sam didn't decide to step in and try and correct his daughter and granddaughter a little bit earlier. You would think he would at least notice what was going on and tell them, hey, you need to get lost. So honestly, I wish Jane the absolute best of luck, and hopefully this cancer is gone forever. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My girlfriend keeps trying to force me to be friends with her sister's fiance, despite the fact that he's incredibly toxic and has stabbed me in the back multiple times. But despite it all, she won't let it go and demands that I gather some kind of friendship with this guy. And now I seriously don't know what to do. So since the beginning of this relationship, my girlfriend keeps trying to get me to be friends with her sister and her sister's fiance. Well, from the start, we never meshed well due to how different her family is, and I was honestly pretty quiet and reserved. Initially, it was a cultural shock for me because I am white and they are all Chinese. I kind of picked up on some things that were happening concerning interactions with her sister as well as her fiance. For the sake of privacy, we'll call her sister Jane and her fiance John. Towards the beginning of the relationship, one of the things that my girlfriend would try to do would be to get us to game together on mobile games, because that's how they interacted with each other and bonded. So she figured it would be a great way to get to know them. Now, I tried to get into the same games with them, but I felt like I was an outcast because I was so new to the game and that I couldn't really enjoy the game, and I felt like I was ruining the dynamic. I felt this way because everyone would get super silent whenever I would lose or do something that was dumb in-game. So initially, gaming didn't really work out, and I feel like they kind of used that to form an image of me like I was some kind of idiot, incapable of being productive in regards to the team. As time went on, we randomly would go out to eat at restaurants, and I felt like John was ignoring me a lot of the times in conversations, because every time I tried to engage with everyone at the table, he would basically gloss over what I'd say and make the focus back onto him. Then there were times where I would reach out to John to try and get another male opinion on my relationship with my girlfriend, because my girlfriend mentioned John was like a brother to him. So I assumed that he'd be a good resource since he knew my girlfriend much better than I did at the time, due to to being involved in her life for the past 3 years prior to us dating. He basically was like a brother in my girlfriend's eyes, and I used that as a reason to confide in him. Well, we had a personal conversation about an issue at one point, and he basically stabbed me in the back by telling her sister what I said, and even completely twisted my own words so that I was viewed as this absolute jerk of a person trying to take advantage of my girlfriend. Word got back to my girlfriend, then eventually me, and initially I said to myself, what in the world is going on? But I just accepted it and I moved on. I always had this thought in the back of my head that John was jealous of me because of all these weird reasons I couldn't quite pinpoint, especially due to breaking the bro code. And I thought to myself that maybe he viewed me as a threat, so that seemed like a logical reason why he did not want to engage with me. Before I came into the picture 2+ years ago, it was only those three who supposedly were super close, and she could go to John for help with her family or life issues. So hearing this initially, I'd reach out to John for help because I don't talk to any of my family and I don't have anyone who I can go to for issues like that. I always felt like he spoke to me in a very condescending tone and viewed me as if I was beneath him due to my in-game abilities and my awkward reservedness that stems from anxiety. I've tried multiple times to reach out and actually personally try to be a friend with this guy. For example, he took his car to a family mechanic and the mechanic basically destroys his engine during a rebuild, which basically left his car sitting in a garage. Ever since that point, I took it upon myself to go over one day, call up a car buddy who works on cars, and put those two in contact with each other so that he can get his car fixed. I also went over, helped him install this roof rack that he was struggling with on his car because he looked like he could use a second set of hands. I do these things because I truly try to be a good friend, because no one does these types of things for me. All I've ever felt like is that I was used for someone else's personal gain, because he never reaches out to me on his own accord, only when it's convenient for him. This guy John proved to me that he doesn't view me as a friend because he only contacts me to help him since I have tools or something along those lines. He's never called me or asked me how I was, or if I wanted to join him in doing any other kind of activity. I have contacted this guy multiple times, either to hang out or to go do stuff, and I'm always told, I'm sorry, I'm busy. And this is after literally days of waiting for a reply. Even when he's not busy sitting at home gaming, I still get the same response. With all these clear examples of him not wanting to befriend me, my girlfriend still insists that I give it time, and maybe he will eventually be friends with me. I really don't know what to do at this point, because I can see that it isn't going to work with John in the slightest, but my girlfriend for some reason refuses to see this and insists that we keep trying. So as of today, we're basically not speaking to each other due to a group texting between all four of us, leading to a fallout in communication between John and I. In the conversation, John revealed his true thoughts about me, which I had a feeling was how he felt from the beginning, due to his lack of interest in befriending me. Even seeing this and knowing everything I've been telling my girlfriend about John being the reason that we aren't friends, my girlfriend still insists we give it time and then try to become friends again. But I don't think that will ever happen, due to us trying that for the past 2.5 years, and it still hasn't happened. I really don't know where to go from here, because I do care about my girlfriend, but it's like she's not willing to see things from my perspective, and it's got me questioning a lot of things about myself. And these are things that I don't even think are issues, but my girlfriend seems to believe they are. What should I do? It honestly blows my mind that your girlfriend is still trying to make you have some kind of relationship with John. John sounds incredibly toxic. He clearly does not like you, and it sounds like you've literally done everything you can to try and develop some kind of relationship with him. So the way he's acting is completely inappropriate. He also backstabbed you and told all this information about you behind your back, even though you thought you could trust him and confide in him. And honestly, in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, the second John would have done that to me, that would have been the last attempt I would have made to try and be friends with him, regardless of what my girlfriend says. Of course, I'll be cordial and I'll try to be nice and all that stuff, but we will not be anything more than that. There's just no way. So maybe I think you really need to get it through to your girlfriend that John is not a good person that you want to be around. He has clearly done you wrong in the past, and it seems like he's actively trying to push you aside and treat you like garbage, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. If your girlfriend wants to hang out with her sister, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, I just don't see why you should be forced to come along and be best friends with this absolute jerk of a person. I found my husband searching for hidden cameras for the home, and now I'm really not sure what to do, and I'm really freaked out. Here's what happened. So my husband and I have been married married for 2 years and together for 4 overall. The relationship has been solid, except for some communication issues, and what sometimes feels like a guilty until proven innocent type of viewpoint that he has towards me. There is no history of cheating, lying, or anything on my end. He is just generally very distrustful of people because he thinks that most humans generally have selfish motives. We were recently driving around to furniture stores, and he asked me to use his phone, which was hooked up to the GPS navigation, to put in the directions for a place that we'd found but couldn't remember the name of. The store page wasn't on any of his browser tabs, so I went to the browser history, knowing that we had Googled it a few days before. I should mention that neither of us are protective of our phones, and have always been comfortable using each other's for stuff like this, especially while driving. As I was scrolling down, I noticed that he had a cluster of searches for things like small hidden camera for home, or hidden camera for inside of house, and similar search terms. Now, I didn't want to make a thing of it while we were driving, so I just didn't say anything, but intended to ask about it later. Then, the more I thought about it, the more I got an awful feeling, and I still haven't said anything. We've never talked about getting cameras for the inside of our home. He does worry about intruders a lot, but it seems like an alarm system or a Ring doorbell would make much more sense for that kind of thing. There were a couple of times he acted suspicious about me having people in the house while he was gone, despite the fact that I didn't have anybody over. All we had were a few things go missing or even just get misplaced, and he jumped to the conclusion that I had had someone over while he was at work and they probably stole it. Really ridiculous stuff if you ask me. Now, I'm not sure if I should bring it up or act like I didn't see anything and see what he does, if anything. My fear is I don't want to become the suspicious one and make assumptions about why he was searching for that item when it could be something totally benign, like he was talking to someone at work about it and Googled for them. So I'm not sure whether to bring it up, and if so, how do I bring it up in a way where he doesn't have a chance to make up an excuse that it isn't true? Or should I just play dumb while keeping an eye out for anything weird around my home? I'm honestly so confused and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, that's really sketchy stuff, but honestly, if you're just now seeing that on his search history, then there's a good chance he probably already has one. Like seriously, some of those hidden cameras are really freaky. They are scary things that can be hidden just about anywhere in the home, and they keep getting more and more sophisticated over time. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe see if you can hire someone to take a look and see if they can use some kind of tools to find any hidden cameras, or even looking on like Amazon to see if there's anything that can help you with that. That way you can check for yourself and see if there's something going on that you really don't like. And I can't think of anybody who wants to be secretly spied on. Like there's no good reason for that. If you want to put up cameras, I think you have the right idea. Put up a Ring doorbell or something similar. So hopefully there's not a secret hidden camera inside your house, because that would be really creepy, and I don't know about you, but that would really set my nerves on fire, knowing that there could be a hidden camera somewhere in the house and I haven't noticed or spotted it yet. My boyfriend is upset with me because I am leaving for a month-long trip to Europe and he can't come along with me. And now he's implying that I'm only going to Europe so I can be away from him just to cheat on him. And I honestly don't know what to do. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for about half a year. He is taking summer classes all summer, so he can't go anywhere. Meanwhile, I got invited to a trip to Europe with my friends. It's a guy friend and a girlfriend. I will be gone for a month, and my boyfriend can't come along, but is feeling super insecure about me leaving, especially with the other men that are going to be there. I already bought tickets and can't stop beating myself up about the fact that I'm leaving on a month-long trip without my partner, and it also really hurts to see that he's upset with me leaving. I would get extreme fear of missing out because I've never traveled anywhere without my parents. This is my first time, but I also love this guy, and I'm not sure if I'm being a bad girlfriend by leaving and choosing my own experiences. I assured him I would never be unfaithful and express my appreciation and love for him, but it doesn't seem to help. I'm worried that he will leave me over this, and I would hate to choose a trip over the relationship. The friend situation is what's making him the most upset. It is a couple and another dude, and he is worried that I'm getting set up on a double date and will be unfaithful to him, and it just doesn't sit right with him, despite me telling him how much I love him and would never cheat on him, and I don't ever have any intention to do so. I'm honestly so hurt and I'm so confused and I don't know what to do. Your boyfriend is being absolutely unreasonable. You're going on a trip to Europe. You're not going on the trip to Europe to cheat on him. He is literally only upset about this because he can't go with you, and so he's now projecting his own insecurities onto you that are, by the way, completely baseless claims that he's making against you for something that you haven't done and that you won't do. You've also only been dating this guy for half a year. Are you really gonna let a boyfriend that you've only been dating for 6 months tell you not to take a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity trip over to Europe with some friends? Like seriously, this is an easy one. And in my opinion, you would be a complete fool to not go to Europe. And you know what? If he breaks up with you, even though you know for a fact you wouldn't and won't do anything on this trip, then seriously, good riddance. Because trust, especially in the face of something like this, is so important for everybody involved. So honestly, I would go on this trip and not worry about what your partner's saying in the slightest. I know you love him and you've definitely expressed that, but just know that there's no actual problem with you going to Europe with some friends. And if anyone has a problem with it, it's your boyfriend and his weird baseless claims. An entitled old Karen throws one of her objects at me that she was trying to check out with in the line at TJ Maxx. And not only did she cut my arm in the process, she then tried to lie about the entire situation, painting me as the bad guy and calling me an idiot. Things got so bad that we even had to call the police just to try and mitigate the situation. Here's what happened. So to start things off, I work at TJ Maxx, and yesterday a stupid entitled customer threw a yellow spiky ball that we sell at the store directly at me in a fit of rage. And the one we sell at TJ Maxx must either be made or manufactured in California, because on the backside of the price sticker, it had a Prop 65 sticker, meaning that this product was found to give you cancer or birth defects in California. So to rewind a little bit, this entitled Karen comes to my register. She's about 80 to 85 years old, but really she's old enough to know better than to do what she did. She grabs it from the card and shows me the sticker. She says that she doesn't want the item because she doesn't want to get cancer from it. Thinking I'm being helpful, I politely explained to her that it was just very likely the item wouldn't be giving her cancer, but that the state of California legally has to display those stickers on the items, especially if they're made in that state. For context, we live in North Carolina, so I can't really fault an older person for not knowing California law. This lady then suddenly flips a switch and starts screaming at me. She says, "I said I don't want it. Don't you dare try to force me to take it. I do not want cancer." Then, suddenly out of nowhere, this entitled Karen hauls back and throws this spiky sphere directly at me. Now, these things weigh less than a pound, but it's a ball covered in metal spikes, and it was thrown pretty hard at me from a distance of maybe 6 feet. So the spot where it hit my arm has some dotted scrapes on it, and where it rolled down my arm also has a line of scrapes. Honestly, my cat has done worse, and it's already fading, but still, I couldn't believe that she did that. Now, because it was still early in the workday, the line wasn't very long, so when she started screaming at me, it went quiet. And so the associates in makeup, handbags, and jewelry, as well as the few customers around us, all stopped what they were doing to see what was up, meaning I had about 12 witnesses to her throwing the item at me in the first place. And it's right about then that I'm pretty sure this old entitled Karen realized what she had done, because she went quiet, she dropped her face, and started unloading the cart. But I wasn't gonna take this sitting down, as I escalated this to a point where the police got involved to deal with this entitled Karen. My coworker had come right down as the ball was thrown, so she got on the headset right when it was thrown to get the manager, who also came running. In the melee, the manager misheard and thought I had punched a customer or something like that, but we set the situation right. When she got up to the front, she asked the old lady why'd she'd thrown it, and the old lady says to her, "I told the little idiot I didn't want to get cancer from it, and she tried to make me buy it. If she had just shut up and done her job, I wouldn't have thrown it at her." Now, up until that point, I was fixing to just let it go. I was going to refuse her service, and the manager probably would have asked the lady to leave without service as well, but she decided to call me an idiot, and then act like I was forcing her to buy a cancer-causing object. I very quickly told the manager all I did was explain why the sticker was on the object in an effort to ease the customer's concerns. I was never trying to make her buy it, but the entitled old Karen said, "You're a liar, you little brat." And then she claimed that I wanted her to no longer be alive, which is honestly crazy. My manager then asked me what I would like to do next, since she sees that I'm injured. I told her to please call the police, because I'm not about to be assaulted by anyone, but especially not for something as stupid as this. And wouldn't you guess it, the entitled old Karen begins to beg and cry, pleading with us not to call the police. The entire time she's wailing on and on about how I'm the one in the wrong. I was trying to make her do things that she didn't want, and I was just a mean person in general. But here's the kicker. She is still unloading her shopping cart. This entitled Karen seriously thought she was going to be able to purchase her items. She even asked me why I wasn't ringing her items up. Anyways, the cops show up and there's 2 cruisers and 4 cops. One of them takes me to the side and the other one takes the entitled Karen over to the other side. My manager takes the other 2 to the office to show them the security camera footage. Now here's the thing, I had witnesses and I had an injury, so it was kind of cut and dry. The cops asked me if I'm sure I want to press charges, and I asked them if I actually had a chance of the lady getting punished, or would a judge just let her go because of her age. The cops said I actually have a pretty decent chance, and based on the old lady's conduct, a judge probably wouldn't be too favorable, especially considering that I'm pregnant in a county that's red as a fire truck. They told me she opened right up to them and admitted that she threw it at me. And a few minutes later, when they read her the Miranda rights, she admitted to having thrown the ball again. They said that her confession, coupled with the camera footage and all the eyewitness accounts, the judge might not even need to speak with me. They took pictures of my arm, got my contact information, and said I might get a call, I might not get a call. Because it was Tuesday, this entitled Karen would probably get a quick bail hearing, but she'd probably just be released on low bail or no bail. Chances are, even if her lawyer sucks, she'll probably get a slap on the wrist. And to top it all off, I made the cop laugh when I asked him if I could do the wrist slapping, preferably with the same item she threw at me. What in the world is wrong with people? This lady went from like 0 to 100 really quickly. This entitled Karen literally straight up threw a fastball at this lady, all because they were just trying to help them out. Like, there's no reason for that. There's no reason for people to get hurt, all because this entitled Karen wants to be weird. So hopefully this entitled Karen got more than just a slap on the wrist, because you can't go around hitting people like that and expect to get away with it. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Our neighbors of 4 years have turned their front yard into a junkyard, and I'm so tired of looking at it, I seriously don't know what to do. So we live in a cul-de-sac and are pretty friendly with our neighbors. The house to the left of us, a family of 5, do not maintain their property in the slightest. The side yard that borders ours is disgusting. The man is a hoarder, so he is constantly trash picking and keeps it all in the side yard for us and anyone that visits us to see. We went as far as spending over $1,000 installing a privacy line of trees that haven't grown much, by the way, just to have some kind of line. And honestly, everyone else on our block makes sure that our properties look nice. We spend time, energy, and money to do this. Aside from the junk, which includes old chairs, bicycles, basketball nets, broken trampolines, huge piles of brush and weeds, as well as random metal things that no one would even know what it is. Aside from all of that, there is standing water, and now a tent, meaning 4 posts and a tarp, has been put up. It literally looks like a homeless shelter. The side of the house is covered in Lowe's Tyvek, and this is from when he started a project 3 years ago. My husband and I don't know the best way to approach it. The thing is, we want to remain on good terms, and we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. However, they know it looks bad. They even joke about it looking horrible, and we have also insinuated that yes, it looks really bad, but they don't do anything about it. I want to call the township, and my husband wants to have a conversation, but we don't really know what to say. Also, as a side note, time and money is not an issue for these people. They are constantly out getting drinks and doing things, as well as buying all sorts of things. I swear, every other day she is posting pictures of her getting drinks and food with her friends, which irritates me even more. She gets her nails done, her lips done, she gets tattoos, and she goes to the gym. But if you have time to do all of that stuff, why not just clean up your yard as well? It's all so very frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, that's really disgusting. The fact that you're living next to someone who doesn't take care of their house, and they just don't care about the outward appearance of things, is really toxic in my opinion. Like, sure, if you want to collect things and you want to have some kind of system where you refurbish cars or junk metal or stuff like that, there's a time and a place to do that. But storing all of that stuff on your front yard for the entire neighborhood and your fellow neighbors to have to deal with is honestly so weird to me. And it's so inappropriate as well. I think it's really a catch-22 at this point, because if you're good enough friends with them, there is a chance where you might be able to have some kind of conversation with them, but it really depends on how they would react. Is it someone where it's worth having some kind of conversation and being like, look, you're lowering everyone else's property value. Is there any way we can help you clean up? And then kind of just go from there. Maybe there's a future where they might be willing to take some help from you as well as someone else you know, and just help them clean out what they don't need. Or you could even use the side of the house as an excuse to be like, oh look, your house isn't done yet. Is there any way I could help you finish it up? And then maybe weasel your way into also mentioning, hey, there's a bunch of garbage on your front lawn. Could we also get rid of that? But obviously in a nice way, because what I said I think would probably come off as really rude. And then maybe go from there. I think the original poster has the right idea though as well. You could just call the township and see if they could take care of it. Getting a call or a note or some kind of violation from the township very well might be the thing to get them off their butts and start cleaning up the junkyard that is their front yard. So hopefully this all works out for you, because I can't imagine having to live next to that every single day and still trying to maintain some kind of property value in the long run. My girlfriend left me after 6 years of being together, and I am now beyond devastated and I seriously don't know what to do. So I met this girl, we'll call her Kate, that's not her real name, while I was going to college. She had a mutual friend who introduced us, and we headed off on Snapchat and went on a movie date. This girl really breathed new life into me, and a few months later, I asked her to be my girlfriend. Things were awkward at first, but a few months later, we admitted that we'd fallen for each other. We were seeing each other every weekend, and sometimes during the week to watch movies, go on road trips, or simply just to be in each other's company. Life was amazing. However, she was a rave girl. She loved to go out with her single friends on the weekends to go to concerts and events. I was always anxious, but I trusted her, and I never told her that she couldn't go. I really wanted her to enjoy herself. We took a lot of vacations together. We went to Italy, Spain, and then the Netherlands together, sometimes even with her family. We had a lot of memories, and I felt so welcomed by her family. When I was 21, I was diagnosed with a rare spine condition. Since I was 18, I had a lot of back pain, and I started to feel my legs lose coordination. It turned out to be a cancerous tumor inside my spinal cord, and it had done some damage. I got surgery, learned how to walk again, and got radiotherapy. I knew I had to beat this to get back to her side and to help build our future together. She was so supportive of me, I couldn't thank her enough, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this girl. However, I noticed she never wanted to go on any dates with me. She just wanted to sit in her bedroom and watch TV together at the weekends, or just go out with her friends. It's like she never wanted to have fun with me. She made such a big effort with them, but I never mentioned it. I never stopped her from having her fun. Fast forward to last week, and she had been going out multiple times at the weekends and didn't have any time for me. She went out clubbing 6 times in the space of a month, and I hadn't seen her for nearly 3 weeks. I asked her to plan a dinner together, and she was very sarcastic about it. On Valentine's Day, I surprised her with flowers and a box of her favorite chocolates, and she got nothing for me. I was feeling deeply neglected, but I was still madly in love with her. She promised that she wasn't going out for 2 weeks, but I got a message before I went to her house. She said to me, "You're gonna hate me, but I've been invited to a works night out tomorrow." So I said to her, "It's fine, I'll just see you tonight," bearing in mind that we were just gonna sit in and watch TV together. The fact that she's had more days out with her friends in the past month than we've had in the last 2 years was honestly crushing me. She seemed distant that night, but we still held each other and talked and all the other stuff we normally do. Saturday morning came and I was ready to leave, but I couldn't get a response out of her. She was buried in her phone, so I kissed her goodbye and I left. Later that night, I get the awful "we need to talk" message, right as she was going out. This filled me with immense anxiety. She then said she will do it when she's sober the next day. I thought that it was a horrible thing to do. She struck fear in my heart and left me with it all night. The next day, I go to her house and we talk. She was hugging me and tearful. I knew what was about to happen. She told me that she loves me, but she's not in love with me. I broke down. I had to leave. I went to my car and I started screaming. After everything I've been through these past 3 years, things just keep getting worse for me. I go home and I was howling. My whole world was falling apart. I spent a quarter of my life with this girl and now it's over. She said she was feeling this way for 6 months now and never told me. In my head, that just meant she checked out of the relationship before leaving me, so she's pretty much over it. It took her less than 12 hours to remove me from her bios. It crushed my soul. My chest felt tight, and it was as if I was carrying a block of ice in it. It's been 9 days since she's left, and I gave my all to this girl, and I would do anything to make her happy. She even admitted that she didn't want to go on dates with me, as she didn't see the point. Since she is an extremely attractive girl, it won't be hard for her to find a new man. The thought of her with someone else is absolutely destroying me inside. I feel as if she is toying with me. She sends me a Snapchat after a few days of no contact. I reply, and she just ignores me. She's turned so cold towards me. I have literally never been so low in my life. I can't get her out of my head. She's all I ever think about. I try to keep myself busy, but I can't escape the bad thoughts. I never did anything wrong. I wasn't controlling. I never glanced at another woman. I was supportive and loving, and I still lost everything. She was my world, and I doubt she's coming back. My confidence is at an all-time low. I don't think I'm attractive, and I can't see me ever getting over her. I'm afraid that I'll be alone forever now, and I seriously don't know what to do. From the sounds of it, it really does seem like you're in the thick of it. You just broke up with this girl that obviously meant a lot to you, and it sounds like she did this in a way that was really, really toxic. And honestly, I'm just so sorry you had to deal with that. It's not fair for you in the slightest, because from the sounds of it, you really did everything right. You tried to make sure she was happy, you tried to make sure that you weren't controlling, and you tried to connect with her on multiple occasions. From the sounds of it, you were a good boyfriend. You probably did everything right, and it doesn't sound like you were going behind her back, and you weren't doing anything to try and cause her to check out of the relationship. So at least let that be your silver lining in the situation. But overall, maybe just give it some time. This situation is obviously very fresh in your life, so it's understandable that you're really going through it. And hopefully one day, with all things considered, you can move forward and find happiness in your life again. Because honestly, you deserve it. I caught my girlfriend texting her ex-boyfriend, as well as the fact that she was deleting the history just to try and hide it from me. And now I seriously don't know what to do. So I had been casually seeing a girl for 4 months until we decided to make it official and exclusive at the start of this month. Things have been going great. However, one day while I was over at her place, I had seen she had gotten a phone call from her ex-boyfriend, which she brushed off as him being crazy and wanting her back. There was an incident a few days after we became official where she checked my phone and found DMs from back in November, which is when we first started talking, where I exchanged some flirtatious messages with someone I knew from college. She blew up at this situation, as well as with a few other DMs that she found from that same time period, and basically considered ending our relationship right then and there. She was upset because when she asked about some of these other girls in the past, I just described them as being friends. Would I be hurt about that too? Sure. However, there was plenty of evidence and even more recent interactions with those same women where I either ignored them or gave them dry responses. Her checking my phone like that, however, got me a little suspicious of her. And I know it's toxic, but a few days later, I decided to check her phone to see what she might be hiding. My curiosity about her ex, given that she had received calls from him, led me to search for his name, only for me to find messages talking about how she actually saw him late in January and even hung out with him to celebrate his birthday. She wrote to a friend saying that they're going out and they're getting some food, which she explained meant her, the ex, and a large group of friends. However, I really wasn't sure what to believe, given that she had lied about them hanging out to begin with. Regardless, this had happened before we were officially dating and exclusive. So regardless of how upset I was, I decided to let it go, given that I myself wasn't super clean before we started dating either. Flash forward to a week later, and she's been acting really strange with me, saying that she's feeling off and sees us differently. She starts talking about how her timeline in life was to get married and have kids in the next 2 years, and mine is in the next 4 or 5, so she doesn't feel good about waiting that long, which is totally understandable stuff, but we did discuss it and put it behind us. Later that same day, I'm having friends over for a housewarming, and she gets a little too intoxicated and goes to bed early. By the time I say bye to my friends and clean up a bit, it's around 1:30 in the morning. I walk into my room, and I see her asleep with her phone just out of reach from her hand. I then notice that she's gotten a few text messages from her ex. I know it's wrong, but it was so late that my intrusive thoughts got the better of me. I see 2 messages sent at 1:30, responding to a message that she had sent that I couldn't see because she deleted it. She actually went as far as to delete these messages from her recently deleted folder as well. He was using that iMessage feature where you reply to a specific message, so I could see that she had sent him something that night, but I unfortunately could not see the contents of the message. I lost my cool and searched more through her messages to find recent messages from her friends telling her to block her ex, and even a message from back in January where she was complaining that her and the ex didn't spend any quality time that night, if you know what I mean, all because he found out about me. The worst part about all of this was that I replied to the ex-boyfriend with a question mark, and I sent it through her phone. And I did that because I had no context of any of the conversations I was seeing. He then proceeds to message me back asking why I'm up so late, and if I plan on picking him up or should he Uber to her place. Her ex-boyfriend was so casual about this as well, asking for an Uber or trying to set up some kind of plan. It all just really set me off. So I continued to play along and I asked him to Uber. Well, as it goes along, we're actually at my place, not hers. And by the time he arrived there, it was already 4 in the morning. At that point, I just put her phone phone down and I saw the string of calls he had made after arriving. Is it my proudest moment? No, but I regret nothing. The next morning when I confronted my girlfriend about it, she says the usual that it's not what it looks like. She claims she only texted him to share some recent changes in her life that would legally allow her to get married in the next 2 years. She then tells me that she kept talking to said ex as he was sharing his plans to buy a house soon, and that he apparently told her that he wanted her back and that she could move in, and in 2 years they could be married and have kids. It turns out this legal issue that she had was the main reason why she and her ex broke up, because they couldn't get married because of it. She's claiming though that all that doesn't matter to her, and that she loves me so much, and that she'd rather be with me than follow the timeline that she had set in mind. But none of that really sits right with me anymore. And to be honest, I don't know how I can trust anything she says now. Honestly, writing this all out shows me what I should do, but I do really love her, and outside of all of this messy stuff, we really do make each other happy. We've spoken on end about our futures together. I even met her parents, and there were plans for her to meet mine. Is it possible to move past something like this? Could you ever trust someone again after they did something like that? I'm struggling to feel like I ever could, and I seriously don't know what to do. For me, this is an absolute deal breaker. If I was in your shoes, I would be breaking up with her. This is not something I'm gonna take sitting down. She's going behind your back and talking to her ex-boyfriend, and I seriously don't believe a single thing that she's saying. So hopefully with whatever decision you make, I really hope you think about your own good, because it sounds like she had some other plans in mind, and those plans absolutely did not involve you. My entitled, narcissistic mother has been actively making up rumors about my girlfriend, claiming that she's controlling me and that she's manipulating me, causing all this unnecessary drama and creating all these false rumors about me and my girlfriend. But after dealing with this for years, I decide that enough is enough, and I put my foot down and I tell her to stop for good. And when I did that, she went absolutely ballistic and has actively sought to try and ruin my life ever since. Here's what happened. So to start off, just to let you know a little bit about my mother, she always told me and my brother that love is not unconditional, that it must be earned. When we were kids, she barely let us hug or kiss her, saying that disgusted her and that is a false and hypocritical way to show love, and that the correct way to show that we loved her was to respect her and to obey her. She would smash the door and windows of our rooms on Saturday and Sunday at 7 in the morning, and she would do this because she was upset at us, because she expected us to already be awake and cleaning the house. And school and grades, she always told us that excellence is the bare minimum you owe me. So if we scored a top score, she would basically be like, oh, you want a reward? That's your obligation. You don't deserve a reward for giving the bare minimum. Anything below that would result in some kind of taunt or being called mediocre, or worst of all, getting punished. She would always tell us, saying, stop acting like a child. You are almost an adult and must behave like one, instead of running around and playing and embarrassing me. And the funny part about this is that she started to say this to us since I was about 7 years old. I was nowhere near an adult. And my favorite, whenever me and my brother were upset with her, or her rules or her punishments, because I'm sure you can guess how my mom is, she loved to punish both of us at the same time. Even if one of us didn't do anything and was totally innocent, she simply didn't care. Regardless of what it was, she would gladly say to us, you don't like it? Well, the door is way big and wide open. You can go. Go away and live in the streets. But you can't take anything, not even your clothes, because all is mine. Your clothes, your toys, your bed. I bought everything. You have nothing. You are free to go, but in the exact same way you came into this world, with nothing. Now, I could go on and on for hours about her, but I'm sure now you can get the idea of what I've been dealing with. So, a lot of years after my childhood, I was finishing up college. I moved from my hometown to study and have better opportunities. My mother already had plans for me. She wanted me to move back at home, find a job that helped her friends, and start a business at her house. Me, on the other side, didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay here. I wanted to find a job and be with my girlfriend. I was happy here, and I had a very good chance to build my own life here. But my mom didn't like that at all. And for weeks, she would say multiple times how I was wasting years and opportunities for not doing what she said. One year, after I decided to stay, she convinced my dad to buy another house. And when they got it, she started to say to me and everyone who would listen to her that she bought it specifically for me, so I could live there and work from there. Since then, she keeps repeating to me and everyone else how I rejected her again and I was wasting a good opportunity. After she realized realize I was doing good here, she changed her way and started to say that my girlfriend was manipulating me, because if I was working, then I should be able to visit them at least 15 days out of the month. Whenever I told her that that was not possible, she would start a tantrum about how my girlfriend is controlling and isolating me. And when I tried to say that wasn't true, she would start demanding that I prove it by telling her how much I earned. She wanted to know exactly how much money I earned, and on multiple times even suggested to give it to her, that she would save it and manage it for me. Whenever I told her no, she would always say to me, "I'm not asking because I'm asking for money. I just know best and I want to help. I'm doing you a favor. Don't you trust me?" Every time I said no, she would start playing the victim and blame me and my girlfriend for wasting all the opportunities that she gave me. Now, I endured this for years, and with time, I started to get into low contact with her, meaning that I would only contact her if it was necessary, since I didn't want to start another thing of drama, because I really just don't like her. Meanwhile, she began to include my girlfriend's mom into this BS, saying that she exploits me and takes all my money, all while claiming that my girlfriend is manipulating me and has me locked down. This would keep going until we hit a breaking point. At the beginning of last December, I was after a new job, a very good opportunity that unfortunately I didn't get. That put me and my girlfriend in a rough spot, and again, my mother ordered me to come back home with the promise that everything would be solved the moment I got back, and that I could find a job faster and easier there, and that I could even live in her house. Now, I have to be honest, I did feel tempted to accept her offer. I even talked to my girlfriend about it, but at the end of the day, I decided to stay. Moving back to my hometown would not solve anything, and that would only carry more troubles. Fortunately, I was able to find a good job a couple weeks afterwards. It's not exactly like the one I was looking for before, but it was good and with a chance of growing. My mother didn't take it well at all. She was mad at me when I called her to tell her the good news. She wasn't happy at all and started to scold me, saying how I always waste the opportunities and chances that she gave me, and how I disappoint her, that my new job would exploit me, and that it would put a test on my character, and that I would fail. And her reasoning was that because I am weak and everyone there would step over me, which, you know, is beautiful words for a mom to say to their son, isn't it? I started working at the second half of December and it was good. Then my mother called, demanding to me that I come home for Christmas, and getting mad when I told her I couldn't because I had work. She started a tantrum about how I don't love her because I don't go to visit them since a long time, and all because I'm selfish, a doormat, and my girlfriend and her family manipulates me. They're controlling me and they don't let me visit them. And all of that is just stupid and false accusations that multiple times I have told her to stop saying. And when I told her that I didn't want to go to her house because it was 14 hours on the bus, and this was during COVID because of my asthma, and I didn't want to take the risk, she started telling me that I was being ridiculous. I was an idiot and I was exaggerating. She said that COVID wasn't that important, and that the president never even used a mask and always said COVID was under control and all this other stuff. A few days later, she and my dad traveled here for New Year's Eve. As soon as they arrived, they demanded me to visit them on my uncle's house. But she also didn't want me to visit for just 5 minutes like I always do, and instead wanted me to stay here all day from breakfast to dinner. Well, I gently tried to explain to her that that wasn't possible. I had work, but she didn't like it. The most I could do was skip my lunchtime to visit them. But things went worse on December 31st. My uncle, as well as the rest of them, organized a religious ceremony that morning, and my mother ordered me to go. When I told her it wasn't possible because of my job, she got mad, and after that she demanded me to come to dinner, spend all the night there, and stay until the morning. I had had enough, and I just said straight up no. I couldn't do that, and I didn't want to do that. I went to work that day, and I came back to my place, and I stayed with my girlfriend, and I had an amazing night with her and her family. The next day, I stayed at home. We slept in, and I woke up at around noon. I then went to my uncle's house to visit my parents, and that's when everything went down. My mom started with the usual speech about me being a horrible person, as well as a disappointment, and that I don't love them. Then she started with how she kept giving chances to do things the right way, but I just don't obey her. That she could not understand why I don't choose to do exactly what she says. Then she started attacking my girlfriend and her family, saying this is all their fault, that they exploit me, they take my money, they have me trapped and controlled, and it's because of her manipulation that I didn't want to go back to her, and that because of her, I didn't want to live in the house that she bought and find a job near them. Eventually, I had had enough and I just stopped her. I was so upset at that point, and I told her for the last time she she was wrong, and she can't say those things about her. She then said, "Well now, the truth hurts, doesn't it? If you're uncomfortable with what I'm saying." And before she could continue, I told her to stop. But she kept on going, saying that not showing up on the day she ordered was a sign of disrespect from me, and that because I didn't go along, this was somehow a sign that my girlfriend didn't respect her. I told her to stop again, and that I had had enough, and I won't allow her to keep saying all this garbage about her. She told me, "You are not gonna forbid me from saying anything. I'm gonna say everything I want because I'm right. I am always right, and I'm always gonna say things as the way they are." After that, I simply had had enough, and I left her with her tantrum. My dad only said that he was disappointed and disgusted at me, that I showed him how I don't feel love or respect to them, and that I just don't want to obey, so he won't care about me anymore. I avoided them for the rest of their time that they stayed until they went back to their home. Things were tense, but I believed everything was over. But no, while I was working, my uncle came to my girlfriend's house. He went with the intention of confronting them and throwing them the truth into their faces. He accused my girlfriend and my mother about everything my mother told him, that they controlled me, they manipulated me, they exploit me, and they're robbing me, and that I was trapped and they were the reason I didn't take all the opportunities that my mother gave me. And when I found out, I was beyond furious. My girlfriend and her family have never done anything to my mother, and in the contrary, they always had cared about my parents, asking when they would come to visit, giving them presents, and they never had a bad word to say about them, always asking about how they are. And now, after all this, my mother had been spreading her BS to all the family, bringing her lies and drama to their home. Finally, I had had enough. I called her, and now it was my turn. I let go every single thing I had to say. I was putting an end to all of this garbage. Multiple times she tried to shut me up, telling me things like, "I'm your mother. You can't talk to me that way. Remember who you're talking to. You have no right to talk to me that way." Even yelling at the phone just to get me to stop talking, but I didn't let her have it. She then said to me, "And what? What do you want now? You want me to apologize?" And I said to her, "Yes, I want you to apologize, just to begin with." She then started laughing at the phone, but not laughing like I said something funny. It was a fake laugh with the only intention to upset me. She wanted to mock me, like she was saying to me I was an idiot for even asking that. The kind of laugh that someone would use to humiliate. She said that it was all my girlfriend's fault once again, and that because of her and her manipulation, I didn't want to move back as she ordered, and I didn't want to live where she ordered me, while also refusing to work where she demanded that I work, and in essence, basically disobeying her. She said that she's now gonna wait for me, my girlfriend, and her family to apologize to her and ask for my mom's forgiveness. I told her she was no victim, and she was being ridiculous. I told her that I was done. I'm tired of her. She insulted me, my girlfriend, and her family for the last time. I want her to take back everything she said, and I want her to apologize. She said that she would never do that, and that I'm an idiot for believing that she would ever think about that. So I told her I won't talk to them ever again until she stops her garbage and apologizes. And with that, I ended my call. After that, my dad sent me a text message saying how disappointed he was, and that he was done with me as well, and that I showed them that I don't love them, and that I'm not loyal to my family, so he was done. It's been about almost 3 months since I cut contact with them, and all the fights, all the drama, they're all gone. The tantrums, the scoldings, the drama, it's all over, and I have been doing great with my job and my girlfriend. Everything is finally going well. My brother had called me a couple of times, and he understands me, but he keeps saying things like, "It's not that big of a deal. I know how our mom is. She says stuff like this all the time. It's normal." He then asked me to fix things with her and to come here for a week at least and do what she says so everything can be normal again. But I told him that I'm absolutely not gonna do that. I know for a fact that our mom is still angry as a hornet, and because my brother is near her, she now focuses all the drama and the scoldings and the fights onto him, and he desperately wants to take her off of him. So that's it. For years, she has been saying all this garbage about me and my girlfriend, and now after spreading her lies to the family, she expects us to apologize to her. Well, with all things considered, I can confidently tell you that that is never going to happen. Your mom is literally a narcissist. Like, this is a textbook example of some controlling, OCD-ridden narcissist who literally just wants to control everybody else around her. Like, that is literally what's going on. So good for you for getting out from underneath her, because she seriously sounds crazy, and you can bet if you went back and did everything that she said, it would still not be enough. You would have been miserable, and I guarantee you she would have actively ruined your your life. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My entitled neighbor is incredibly rich and incredibly spoiled, and while he was a reasonable neighbor at the start of me moving there, he quickly became an absolute jerk, and I really cannot stand living next to him. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened during the pandemic, but there are a few things I need to note first. My next door neighbor is the wealthiest person in the neighborhood as far as we know. Before the pandemic, he was a reasonable guy, and I never had any problem with him, save one party that got a little bit out of control. But this story took place way before that party ever did. So this neighbor, who we will call Jack, that's not his real name, lives in the house next door to mine with his long-term girlfriend. We'll call her Stacy, also not her real name. And let me tell you something, she is a gem of a person. Since before my father-in-law gave his house to my wife, he would hold crazy parties at his house. These parties would happen every single weekend. He invited us to one when we moved in, and we went just to be polite, but it wasn't our thing, so we politely declined. He was still a reasonable guy and would say, "Come on over, we'll have a blast." But the wife and I always use the kids as an excuse and politely decline. He converted the first floor of his house into a dance club, complete with an indoor swimming pool. One party will always stick out to me as the day we saw a tow truck remove a car from a brick wall. The driver was okay, but the party itself was massive. It looked like he invited the entire town. The next day, he asked me if I would help him move a couch. I guess a couch was thrown into the pool, so I ended up just helping him out, and we had a good laugh about it. As I said, even with some of the wildest parties, he's not really a bad guy. He at one point helped me clear out some trees that fell in the woods behind our houses. And honestly, it was the pandemic that caused him to go off the deep end. My town was spared the worst of the pandemic. The school shut down before the orders from the state, and many businesses did the same. Jack, however, did not stop partying. His parties were shut down several times until one day it looked like the entire police force showed up, and they arrested everyone. They were all let go, but the parties were over, and the good fun-loving guy was gone. He organized a protest with his friends and got a bunch of others who hated masks and went to the town hall. But when they found out that it was closed, they tried the county office. For some unknown reason, they went after a supermarket and harassed the workers. And I'm pretty sure it was on Facebook and YouTube. Why these people chose to harass grocery store employees is beyond me. But in the end, they all got arrested again. Now, we were still on speaking terms at this point, but that would change overnight when a buddy of his decided to race their overpriced cars through town. And as a result, we got into a heated argument about it. And he took offense when I pointed out that the only reason he isn't in jail is because he's rich. It's not my proudest moment, but you know what? He had it coming. More recent events include calling the police on anyone that is having work done on their house, as well as calling the police when anyone parks on the street. This guy would even send lawyers to town hall just to disrupt meetings. And most recently, he parked 10 junk cars on the streets with flat tires, wrapping a chain around a piece of construction equipment and putting a very vulgar sign on it. Oh, and his girlfriend usually comes over to apologize for his actions. I am surprised that she hasn't broken up with him, to be completely honest. She is the one to apologize for his actions and will offer to pay for any damages that we might experience. They are still together from what I know, but I haven't seen her in a few weeks. Honestly, overall, my neighbor is the absolute epitome of entitled rich jerks that you will ever see in your life. Yeah, that guy sounds like he is seriously one big privileged ball of fun. I mean, who just parks 10 junk cars on the street and just leaves it there for the heck of it? And the worst part about it is I'm pretty sure this guy could have been a reasonable neighbor. Like, he could have been someone that the original poster could go to and try and have some kind of friendship with, but this rich guy just completely ignored all of that and decided to act crazy the second the pandemic started. So hopefully, if you still live next to them, they're at least a little bit more reasonable now that the pandemic is over. And hopefully all of this money doesn't get pointed at you one day, because it sounds like this guy is fully capable of ruining people's lives, and I definitely would not want to be on the receiving end of it. My entitled boss strung me along for 2 years, claiming that she was going to give me a promotion and a salary increase if I continue to work hard and meet all the requirements that she made. But after moving the goalposts so many times and refusing to move forward with giving me a raise and a higher title, I eventually stopped doing all the extra work and only did what's on my job description. And as a result, my manager got in a lot of trouble and eventually got fired. Here's what happened. So at my last company, I was working as a marketing executive. The team included myself and a senior marketing executive. As time went on, I began to take on more responsibilities to the point where I was doing more than the senior in my team, which they even admitted. I I spoke to my manager about what I need to do to get a senior position. She gave me goals and a timeline, and I hit those targets. And then she would just move the goalpost, and she did this 2 more times. All the while, I was using my skills to reduce costs and improve the projects I was working on. Specifically, I had started to design everything myself instead of using the expensive design agency, thus saving the company about $45,000 a year. I finally set another meeting with my manager to discuss a promotion. I showed her how I was increasing the profit margins of all my projects, as well as all the extra work I had been doing. But her response was to say, just because you make nice things and do extra work doesn't entitle you to a promotion. Now, when she said that, I just sat there shocked. And then she said, but don't worry, you'll get there eventually, and then ended the meeting. She had led me on about a promotion for almost 2 years. So this is where my malicious compliance starts. I stopped doing anything outside my job description, which included all of the design work. Everything went to the agency, and the whole team relied on my design work. But when I told them why I was stopping, they understood entirely what I was going through, and they all swiftly became quite happy to start using the expensive agency. It wasn't until our next quarterly meeting that my manager noticed our profits per project had harshly dropped. When she questioned why we were spending so much money, I said to her, well, as design is outside of my job description, we had to use an agency. And when she heard this, she was livid, as she had to share the statistics with the CEO that week, who actually ended up yelling at her in front of all the directors. She tried to give me an official warning for sabotaging the team, but a talk with human resources cleared that away when they realized that it wasn't a part of my role. She then told me that I had to sign a new contract with an updated job description, which I absolutely declined on the spot. Eventually, she asked me what it would take to get me to continue running my projects, just like I previously used to do. And I mentioned the job title and salary increase, and she thankfully begrudgingly accepted. Now, I was seriously worried about her being hostile towards me, but then something crazy happened. COVID hit and this lady was made redundant. I stayed for a further 2 years before finally moving to a much better place at the start of this year. And as of today, my former manager's LinkedIn account continues to show that she's unemployed. And honestly, I can't think of a better person for that to happen to than my entitled manager who strung me along for 2 years. Yeah, your manager sounds like an absolute jerk. They made you believe that you were going to get some kind of raise or some kind of job title, but it was all literally a lie. She probably just did that to try and make you work harder, just so she could save some money on her end. And that is so unfair considering the fact that you went above and beyond just to get everything done with that company. I mean, you were saving them $45,000 a year. How could they not show some kind of gratitude towards your hard work? I mean, come on. Talk about being blind to the facts that are right in front of you. So with all that considered, and with the way your manager treated you, it really is satisfying to see that they are currently unemployed and they now have to deal with trying to find a new job. And with the way she acted, good luck trying to find any kind of reference. An entitled Karen faked an injury just so she could go on short-term disability. And despite complaining to HR multiple times as her manager, HR decided to side with her, preventing me from replacing her completely while also bending to everything this entitled Karen ever had to say. And as a result, I put my 2 weeks notice in, my department fell apart with my absence once I quit, and this entitled Karen got fired for being completely useless. Here's what happened. So I'm a 40-year-old male, and I was the director of sales op for a software company, and this went on for a year. The entitled Karen of this story was on my team, and we were responsible for processing purchase orders. The entitled Karen had a small vehicle accident that put her in a neck brace. She also needed once-weekly physical therapy appointments and had some restrictions on duties, all of which I accommodated. It was no issue in the slightest. Now, with that in mind, and despite meeting her needs, this entitled Karen decided coming into work was optional. HR noticed that she was repeatedly absent from work 3 to 4 days at a time, as well as multiple weeks in a row. They did not give me details, but told me documentation from her doctor did not justify all of these absences. To make matters worse, this entitled Karen would never give notice that she was going to be out, and sometimes would just no-show without ever calling, nor indicate how long she would be out. HR eventually told this Karen that she needed to either attend work more regularly or get a doctor's note to sign off on short-term disability. And you know what? This worked for me. I would much rather have this Karen take extended time off so I could also get someone to replace her duties than be absent frequently frequently with no warning and with no one to cover for her. This Karen's original doctor would not document a need for a disability, so she went out and found one who would. She bragged to the team that she found a doc that would sign off on anything. So this entitled Karen went on disability, and I was able to get a temporary worker to cover her until she returned, even though some coworkers told me that this entitled Karen was going to the clubs and was going dancing and stuff along those lines. But you know what? I did not care. That was between her and the HR department. For now at least, the work was getting done. The time period of Karen's short-term disability eventually expired. At this point, she either had to come back to work or go on long-term disability, so I could replace her permanently. The Karen's sign-anything doctor would not give her documentation for long-term disability, so the entitled Karen grudgingly came back to work. She quickly went back to being absent all the time. She also refused to do even the basic duties of her job. I eventually went to HR and told them things were not working out and that I wanted to replace her, and thankfully they were on board with this plan. HR brought this entitled Karen in for the talk, but Karen flipped out and said that she would sue. Suddenly, HR was not on board. It didn't matter that the entitled Karen really didn't have any legal standing. Just an empty threat of a lawsuit made HR decide it was more important to make her happy than to let me have a functional department. In one instance, I asked the entitled Karen to do purchase order review, and she complained to HR about me bossing her around, despite the fact that I am literally her boss. HR then told me that I could no longer give assignments or work duties to the entitled Karen. When I said that was fine, as long as they would let me hire someone else to do the Karen's job, they refused to give me a request for a new employee. This went on for months, and the entitled Karen quickly learned that she could complain to HR about anything and get her way. You would not believe the accommodations she was given. Meanwhile, she made no effort to hide that she was not really injured anymore. She was barely coming to work, but she was still getting paid. She even encouraged other team members to take advantage of this loophole that she had found. Then, one day during month-end crunch, the entitled Karen didn't come in or call, so I called and asked her if she planned to work that day. It was a simple question, carefully crafted to be neutral in tone. She then told HR that I was harassing her, and then as a result, I got written up. So I immediately put in my 2-week notice. I'm not gonna have my career messed with by a woman who had worked maybe 6 days in a month, especially when I work 60 to 70 hours a week for a company that doesn't care about me. With me suddenly gone, my department fell apart. Purchase orders were not going through, and to address this emergency, a company's senior vice president took over the department until my replacement could be found. HR was certainly not going to tell this guy that he could not give Karen any duties to do at work, so this entitled Karen actually had to do her job. About a month after I quit, the entitled Karen got my home phone number and called me. She was furious that she had to actually work now. She told me she was going to report me to HR for a company that I no longer worked for. And sure enough, she did exactly that. I kept in touch with members of my old team, and they told me she was laughed out of the HR office. But here is where it gets absolutely absurd. This entitled Karen called me again, cursing and screaming and threatening me, and demanded that I give her the contact information for the HR department of my new company. She had plans of reporting me to a department that had no idea who she was, nor had any jurisdiction over her complaints. The stupidity was unbelievable, and I laughed right into her ear all the way up until I hung up and blocked her. The last I heard, this entitled Karen was finally fired. She got 0 unemployment benefits and ended up moving her and her kids in with her mom. The HR department of this guy's previous company absolutely failed him. Like, they did not protect him in the slightest. They let this stupid entitled Karen basically run the company and decide when and where she wants to come into work. And that's not fair in the slightest. So I don't blame you for getting out of there when you could. They clearly did not have your back, and they probably would not have done anything to change that situation. And the fact that it fell apart so quickly once you left is obviously a testament to how much they truly needed you. And that at least is some kind of silver lining you can hold on to when it comes to your former employment. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. course. Check it out, link down below in the description. My dad says I can't go to summer courses even though I need to if I want to graduate on time. And despite knowing exactly what I need to do, my mom is also of no help, claiming that I should just listen to my father and do exactly as he says. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So I want to take a few classes at my college over the summer, which is about 45 to 60 minutes from home. I plan to drive to school just twice a week, and I'm willing to pay for insurance, gas, and parking for my own money. But my dad doesn't want me to. He prefers that I stay home and help him with his business. He owns a consulting business and wants me to work there over the summer. Since I have relevant background in software engineering and data analysis, he thinks that I would be a good fit. For some background, I'm in an accelerated honors program in my college, where students with advanced standings can finish their bachelor's degree in 3 years and do their master's in their 4th year. I'm in this program, and my plan is to take summer classes and do an internship in the summer of 2024. But my dad says it's not worth commuting to school for classes, and that it will be very exhausting for me. I said that I've driven long distances before, and I spend long hours at school each day, so it really shouldn't be an issue. Then he said that it's better to gain industry experience by working for his business. I didn't know what to say, because he will pay me some money if I work for him, and I don't have to drive out. But I also honestly can't stand being around him for too much, because his hygiene is mediocre, and he burps and sweats a lot, and tends to get mad over small things. I didn't say anything about it, but still said that I need to complete 39 credits by May 2024, and that would require me to take summer classes in 2023. Ideally, all the summer classes are online, so I can stay home. But historically, most summer classes that I'm looking at are in person, which means I will have to commute. Living on campus is too expensive during the summer, and off campus is cheaper, but too dangerous since my school is in the middle of a big city. Transitioning the course at a closer community college wouldn't work, since my school won't accept the credits. I even asked my advisor about several of them. The schedule of summer classes came out tomorrow, and I really need to take summer classes anyways, even though my dad won't let me, and even implied that I should quit the honors combined bachelor's and master's program, just so I can avoid commuting this summer, save some cost, and work for his company. I really don't want to start a fight over this. My mom always says that I should listen to my dad, and that he has the final say in everything. They seem to have no idea how important summer classes are for me, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Your parents are wrong. You absolutely should not drop out of that program. You are clearly incredibly gifted and very smart. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this program in the first place. You have the opportunity to get your bachelor's degree as well as your master's degree, and quickly at that. For your dad to be so selfish and tell you to seriously drop out of school, all under the guise of, oh, you could just work for me in my office, is honestly so toxic. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing, and he just wants to use you as free labor. That is not going to look good on your resume. You know what is going to look good on your resume? Getting your master's degree fairly early in life. That's going to look fantastic. So taking summer courses and going to school to get it done truly is the best thing you could do at this point, in my opinion. And it's also really sad that your mom's like, you should listen to your father. He has final say. No, he doesn't. You have final say. They have no say in this matter. This is your future you're talking about. If I was in your shoes, I would be finding a way to take out my own student loans and find on-campus housing. Seriously, you have something really good going on in your life right now, and I just would not throw it away, all because of the bad advice from your mom, who clearly doesn't know what she's talking about, as well as your dad, who obviously wants to exploit your talents just so he can get some high-quality work for a relatively low cost. An entitled guest claims that she's embarrassed, both for me and the hotel, simply because the fire alarm went off as a false alarm, and I'm so baffled by her reaction, I seriously don't know what to make of it. So we had a fire alarm go off last night at our hotel. Through the panel, we could see that it seemed like a fault in the system and not an actual fire. However, the classic fire alarm noise started regardless. While my colleague was on the phone with our maintenance, I followed the regular procedure just in case and went outside to the safe point, encouraging everyone to follow along. After a few minutes, a guest approached me. She was in shorts, definitely not prepared for the cold weather, and she was talking to me in such a way that I honestly did not expect. She looks at me and says, "How long is this going to take?" I looked at her and I said, "I am not sure, ma'am. My colleague is currently investigating this. The alarm has stopped just now, so it is probably a false alarm. However, I wanted to be sure all is safe before going back inside." The guest then said, "Well, I may have to ask for compensation conversation because this is ridiculous. And at this point, I'm trying to stay polite as usual. I say to her, I'm sorry about that, ma'am. I understand that this is an inconvenience, but we are trying to follow the procedure for everybody's safety. The guest then says, it's not an inconvenience at this point, it's just embarrassing. Now, I honestly could not believe she was saying that in this situation. It took all of my willpower to not reply with something like, your embarrassment is the least of our problems right now. Or even to say, what is possibly embarrassing about this? Not letting you burn up in a fire? Instead, I apologized again and repeated that we are just following procedure and that our guest safety is priority above all. Shortly after, thankfully, we went back inside, as it was a false alarm. But I still can't believe how in that situation, someone could be so self-absorbed. Of course, I understand it is a stressful situation, and everyone reacts differently, and maybe she was just scared. However, I was already nervous because the fire alarm sound is already really terrifying, and you have to try and keep it together for the guest. And the least of my worries is anyone being embarrassed. We are literally just doing our job. There's no reason to give a refund for something that is perfectly normal, and it only happened once that night. Am I in the wrong for being baffled by this woman's reaction? Because seriously, it really was confusing. Because her reaction to everything going on just simply did not make sense. Yeah, the guest that you're referring to is really being obnoxious. And if anything, she was probably talking about how she felt, because she felt embarrassed she was in shorts, standing outside in the cold weather that you guys clearly have. Oh, and by the way, it's a fire alarm. You can either believe it and get out of the place before it burns down, or you can be like, this is probably just a test, or it's a mistake. This is so embarrassing. There's nothing embarrassing about a building being on fire, or even the possibility of a building being on fire. Like, that just honestly sounds like a nightmare, and it's not something I even want to toy with. So yeah, that lady was weird, and you didn't do anything wrong. You were following procedure, and I think they should be happy that you took it seriously, and you value the safety of everybody at your hotel. Today, I messed up by telling my girlfriend she could use my computer cleaner to organize my spice rack, and as a result, and by complete accident, she sprayed a volatile pepper all over the kitchen, peppering her face as well as mine. Here's what happened. So a couple of months ago, my girlfriend and I first moved in together. It has been great. We have lots of fun together, and we love it overall. I've always been an amateur cook. I like to do recipes from different cultures, and due to that, I have many spices that I do use a lot. I always buy the bagged ones since they are much cheaper, but that means my spice cupboard is always a huge mess. After months of living in our new apartment, I decided it was time to get a nice spice rack and have them all labeled in containers, just for ease of use, instead of rummaging through the mess every time I cook. Now, this is the kind of task I would think to be redundant, but organizing and labeling stuff is right down my girlfriend's alley. She loves it and was very excited at the prospect of going to pick out pretty labels and identifying my spices for me. She also has very pleasing handwriting, which is much better than mine. After labeling all my spices, came the time to transfer them from bags into containers. This job required a funnel, which we obviously had. However, having 40 different spices means that you need to wash and dry the funnel between each different spice type. And while I'd usually not mind doing it for her, I was cleaning the bathroom at the time, and thus didn't know how my girlfriend was doing. She came to me in the bathroom while the bath was running, asking me something that I didn't quite make out. But what I basically heard her say is if she could use the PC cleaner. As a side note, I also enjoy building and repairing computers as a side hobby, so I have an electric blower that I use for dusting instead of compressed air cans. I just yelled out, yeah, sure, since it's not the first time she's used it. A couple of minutes later, I realized, why would she need to use my PC cleaner to organize my spices? And with that, I left my things there to go check what she was doing. It turns out she was using my cleaner to dust off the leftover spices from the tunnel so they wouldn't mix and match together. While explaining it to me, she did the motion of blowing in the funnel while it was right over a spice jar and accidentally activated it. I suppose the universe had it out for us because the spice she was currently transferring was a type of pepper. The volatile powder quickly blew all over my girlfriend's face, and instinctively, when I tried to reach out to her, I got sprayed as well, and our poor cat was off to the side witnessing all of it. I quickly grabbed her and took us to the bathroom to clean up our faces, while also attempting to fix our airways, turning the fan on and shutting the door. I'm pretty sure we napalmed the entire kitchen. I'm writing this right now from the bathroom, about 30 minutes since the incident. My poor girlfriend's face is red and wet, and while I don't know how bad it is, as of right now, the outside world definitely smells very spicy. That is actually really funny. While I do appreciate appreciate her ingenuity in blowing through the funnel with the PC blower just to try and make the process a little bit easier, it also, at its base level, was a very dangerous game that she was playing. I mean, with all those spices and herbs that were right in front of her, she was bound to pick a spice that would be absolutely devastating. So at least for the sake of your kitchen, maybe open some windows and turn on some fans, because I think that things are gonna smell and taste like pepper for quite a long time. An entitled man tries to burn up his dog's waste instead of throwing it away in the trash can, and as a result, he almost lights a tree on fire, and the owners of the house were not happy. Here's what happened. So this happened a few years ago. I was managing a room and board and had two guys that had dogs. One of them was a young 20-something, and the other was a 50-year-old in a wheelchair. We'll call them Phil and Steve. That's not their real name. So Phil expected everyone else to clean up after his dog, which went to the bathroom all over the backyard. Steve, who despite the wheelchair, made an effort to clean up both after his and Phil's dogs. That is until one night. I'm on the balcony and I see fire in the backyard. I take off as fast as I can, and it was a pile of leaves next to a palm tree with dead leaves that were long enough to almost reach the ground and like a foot away from the burning pile of leaves. I get to the backyard and Steve is rolling to the hose to put it out. I stay close to make sure it's out, and I finally ask him, what on earth happened? I assumed it was a case of someone tossing a lit cigarette, but nope. That's when Steve says something that absolutely blew my mind. Well, Phil's dog has been going all over the place, so I tossed it all in the pile and decided to burn it. I looked at him and I said, you what? He went on to say, my dad was a fire marshal. I know what I'm doing. And he says this after burning leaves in the middle of the summer in a backyard full of dead leaves that hasn't been raked next to a near dead palm tree and without a hose at the ready. Seriously, like I said, he was wheeling to the hose to turn it on after starting the fire. So I decided to not argue and I called the owners. I explained what happened and they were not happy. They had another manager from a house down the street that they owned come by and check out the backyard while Steve was yelling and screaming at me for overreacting by calling the owners. They came by the next day and they were angry. Steve even mixed up the leaves after the fact just to hide as much of the burned leaves as he could, despite the fact that they already had pictures. And he kept repeating, my dad's a fire marshal. I knew exactly what I was doing. He didn't last much longer after that and continued to claim that it was a little fire under control and that I didn't have to snitch on him in the way that I did. Oh, and as for Phil, he left after 3 more days because he couldn't pay his rent. He only had half and actually tried to win the rest of his rent through scratch-off tickets in the lottery. He then basically took off into the night and we never heard from him ever again. Yeah, that guy's an idiot for burning a bunch of dead leaves next to a dead palm tree. Like, that is so dangerous and it easily could have caused so many problems and so much of a disaster in the area. Like, imagine trying to explain away why you lit everything on fire and why on earth you decided to burn dog waste. Like, seriously, first off, that guy should have been cleaning up after his dog, and secondly, you don't just start burning it up instead of, I don't know, throwing it away into the garbage can. Like, if you're gonna clean it up, at least do it correctly. This guy could have seriously caused a lot of damage and people seriously could have been hurt. He should have had that hose on the ready, and there's just no good excuse for what happened. So the next time this guy says his dad's a fire marshal, just look at him and say, no, you're a liar. You don't know what you're doing, and you almost burned down the entire building. An entitled Karen demands to buy the new Super Mario Bros. Game on the PlayStation. But after I describe and explain to her several times that Super Mario Bros. Is not a PlayStation game, she accuses me of stealing all the copies that she would want to buy, insisting that I'm selling them online for double the price, just so she couldn't get the game that she wanted. And I've honestly never been more freaked out by a crazy Karen in my life. Here's what happened. So, with the new Super Mario Bros. Movie opening in theaters soon, I thought I would share this story from when I worked at Walmart back around the mid-2000s. I was filling in at the electronics department, and it was a slow day, and I was standing in the middle of the section waiting for customers to come in so I could try to assist them. And it's right about then that a middle-aged woman walks in, which is the Karen of this story. And when I approached her to ask her how I could help her, that's when everything started to go down. She looks at me and says, I want to purchase the newest Super Mario Bros. Game. So I said to her, that's not a problem at all. I can happily help you with that. So I led her to the Nintendo cabinet. I opened it up and I pulled out a copy of the game. The Karen then looks at me and says, no, not that one. But I responded to her by saying, ma'am, this is the newest copy of Super Mario Bros. But the entitled Karen was not having it. She looks at me and says, no, I want the Super Mario Bros. Game for the PlayStation. And it was right about then that I realized realized she did not know what she was asking for. I informed her that Mario is a Nintendo licensed property and that it is not sold on PlayStation, but she simply wouldn't believe me. She said to me, "Yes, it is. I saw a commercial advertising it for the PlayStation, and that's what I want to buy." I tried my best once again to tell her that she did not see a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation, but of course this went just about as well as you would expect. She then started shouting at me. She said, "Don't you tell me what I did or didn't see. I know I saw a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation, and that's what I want." I then showed her the copyright logo on the game, stating that Mario was a Nintendo licensed company and that there's no way it was on the PlayStation, but she still refused to believe me. So giving in, I led her to our PlayStation display case and I said to her, "Ma'am, this is our current set of PlayStation games for sale, and you can see that there are no copies of Super Mario Bros. So even if you are right, we just don't carry any copies of that game at our location." Now with this, I was hoping that she would just accept that we didn't sell copies of the game for the PlayStation and would then just hopefully walk away. But instead of doing that, she accused me of stealing all the copies of Mario Bros. For the PlayStation to then sell them online at double the cost so I can make a profit. And when she made that wild accusation against me, I was seriously dumbfounded. I asked her where on earth she was basing this off of, but it was right about then that I realized I was not going to get through to her. So I called over a coworker for assistance. And when he came up, I said to him, "You don't know the conversation I've had with this lady, correct?" He looks at me a little bit confused and then nods his head yes. I turn to this entitled Karen and I say to her, "Listen, there's no way I could have prompted him on what you wanted and are requesting in this department. So with that in mind, please ask my coworker what you want." This entitled Karen turns to my coworker and tells him that she wanted the newest Super Mario Bros. On the PlayStation. And guess what happened? He tells her the exact same thing that I did, stating that Mario isn't sold on the PlayStation consoles. And of course, she lumps my coworker into the conspiracy, stating that the two of us must be stealing all the copies of the game for PlayStation and selling them online at double the cost. The department manager finally sees the scene that the entitled Karen was making, and he rushes over to try and calm her down, as well as to also tell her that Super Mario Bros. Isn't sold on the PlayStation. But she also lumps him in on it as well. But this time, she accuses the department manager of being the ringleader of the operation. She then breaks out the biggest case of crocodile tears I've ever seen in my life. She looks at us and says, "All I wanted to do was buy a copy of Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation for my son's birthday party, but you monsters have ruined this and countless other children's birthdays by stealing the game from the store just so you could sell them online at double the cost. So because of you, Walmart has lost a valued customer this day. I'm going to another store, I'm gonna find Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation, and I'm gonna bring it back here and I'm gonna expose you all." And with that, the entitled Karen stormed off. But I couldn't let her get the last word in, so I stepped forward and I shouted back at her. I said, "Ma'am, go ahead and try and find a copy of the game on PlayStation. And if you can, bring it back here and I'll give you my next paycheck." Needless to say, we never saw or heard from that entitled Karen ever again. What an absolutely entitled jerk. This entitled Karen literally went in there, bothered a bunch of hourly workers, and then accused them of having some kind of underground crime ring where they're selling copies of some imaginary game at double the cost. Like, you've got to be seriously unhinged to make that kind of assumption. And this is all built off of the fact that this lady was just completely wrong. I mean, literally 3 separate people who never heard the original conversation in the first place all validated the original poster story and said the exact same thing unprompted. I mean, seriously, what more do you possibly want? So good for the original poster for not only standing up for themselves, but also by handling that with style. Because that entitled Karen was just being a complete moron, and it is seriously disappointing to see someone get treated like this, especially over someone else's absolute ignorance. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My mom wants to come visit me all of a sudden out of nowhere, and now my wife, who has serious problems with my mom, is planning on leaving the house for 2 weeks just so she can avoid this situation, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my wife and I grew up in Latin America, but we've lived in the US for about 10 years. We got married here and we have 2 daughters now. We haven't been able to travel back and visit family for a few years because of the pandemic, having a newborn, and the financial hardship that we were currently in. It would theoretically be possible now in 2023, but my mom surprised me with the news that she had saved enough money to book a trip and come visit us, as well as to meet our granddaughters for the first time. And this news is putting a strain on on my marriage. Now, to give some kind of context, my mom and my wife had a decent relationship before we got married. There was always some kind of tension, but not enough to call it conflict. Things started to escalate around 2015 to 2016 when my mom accidentally found out that I'd been in contact with my dad, which is something she had forbidden me to do my entire life. My mom felt betrayed and tremendously upset. She yelled at me on the phone, she cried, and we did not speak to one another for quite a while. Eventually, we decided to put that behind us and continue to stay in touch. But to my wife, getting over those fights has been non-negotiable. The things she brings up, even today, 7 to 8 years later, are basically that my mom implied that she doesn't take care of the home properly or could be taking advantage of me because I have a job and she doesn't. Another episode she keeps bringing back is when my mom asked me and my wife to remove my dad and his son, which is my half-sibling, from our Facebook friends group, which I know, trust me, is very boomer type stuff. But that was the turning point. My wife decided she would not do that and instead blocked and deleted my mom from phone as well as social media and decided to never speak to her again, which has been the case for the last 7 or so years. But with that in mind, my wife always insists on me calling my mom, making sure I'm sending her pictures of the kids, keeping her up to date on their growth. My wife would even insist that I would tell my mom the theme of our daughter's birthday party just so my mom wouldn't complain about not being involved. When my grandfather passed away at the beginning of the pandemic, I video called my mom every single day for like a month. We went through that grief somewhat together. Since then, I've started video calling my mom almost every week, and surprisingly, my wife is the one among all of us who's always on top of making sure that I set aside some time on the weekend to make that call. Even my mom sometimes goes out to do something on the weekends and gets back home too late, so we can't video chat, but my wife makes sure I never forget it. Now comes early 2023. My mom announces that she's planning to come visit us for the first time, and my wife is now freaking out. She already asked what hotel I'll put her in for the duration of that visit. She told me she doesn't want to see her and doesn't want to be seen or have any conversation with her. Eventually, the tickets were purchased, but it's not yet been decided where my mom is going to stay. Now, here's how I feel about this situation. I wish it wasn't that hard. I wish I could call my mom anytime I wanted and not have to plan ahead, as well as sit in a place where the wife can pass around me without being on camera. I wish I could be 100% excited and happy that my daughters will get to meet their grandma for the first time, but unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm leaning towards agreeing with my wife on leaving for a couple of weeks. It could be nice to have that time away from each other, even if the reasoning for that is not great. I asked her last night, so what are we going to do? Where are you going? And she said to me, I don't know, you tell me. But I said, I can't tell you where to go. I was able to pry from her that her idea of that exile was staying in a hotel room or an Airbnb in our city. It may be relevant to mention that she can't drive, and the transit in our city is not great. So my not ideal, but I can't think of anything else solution, is to pay for a hotel room downtown for the wife and host my mom in my place. I'll also need to work for part of those 2 weeks. So if it comes down to it, I need to have someone watching the kids after school. This is all so confusing and I seriously don't know what to do. So it honestly sounds like your mom has apologized to you and tried to make amends in some kind of way, but it doesn't sound like she's made any attempt to talk to your wife in the slightest. So your wife made the decision of like, you know what, I'm out. I'm not dealing with this. And based on what you've described, I kind of don't blame her. It sounds like your mom is kind of toxic, regardless of if she's apologized to you or not. So it kind of makes sense that your wife would be upset about the whole situation. So in my opinion, the only real solution that I can see is putting your mom in a hotel. It honestly just seems counterintuitive to have your wife leave the house when it's your mom who has caused these problems for so many years. And it's also super suspicious that your mom decided to schedule some kind of visit with you without clearing it with you first. I mean, your mom and wife haven't spoken in 7 years. That is incredibly problematic in my opinion. So hopefully with whatever you decide to do, you really do consider your wife first, because from the sounds of it, it doesn't look like your mom has made any attempt to try and make amends. And so I really don't think this is the wife's fault in the slightest. My manager tried throwing me under the bus while at work, but as a result, I turned the tables, and right before I resigned and found a new job, I humiliated her in front of the entire company while also permanently damaging her credibility. Here's what happened. So I recently resigned from a toxic workplace as a data analyst at a startup. It was promising at the start, but not long after, I noticed many red flags, including the fact that my manager had absolutely no data analysis or management experience prior to being promoted. I mean, how on earth can you manage manage anybody if you don't know basic Excel functions. I ignored those red flags and trusted her leadership because I liked the company goals. But little did I know that this would be a horrible decision later on. I basically did all the work for the team for the whole year I was there. When I ran the numbers for reporting and analysis of team performance, she always asked me to dumb it down so that she can present it to high-level management. I thought everything was going well because I only got feedback from her and the rest of the team. About a month ago, a coworker who I don't get along with made a complaint about me that was absolutely untrue. My manager believed it without investigating it, and all of a sudden, I was placed on performance improvement plan. She spouted all types of lies to HR, and when I refuted those claims with written evidence, they doubled down and started gaslighting me, saying stuff like, "Oh, you're just too negative." I refused to sign anything they gave me, and I was threatened with termination, so I had to comply and started building a case against them. I knew she was doing the PIP to terminate me, as she looked for internal candidates to replace me in secret because she was dumb enough to set the meeting up beside me. Once I signed my contract for a new job, I basically did nothing and started working from home. Before my resignation, she asked me to do some reporting for her, so I ran the numbers and sent her the raw data. I told her where the files were located and that she can analyze the data and make the presentation herself. I mean, since she's the data analyst manager, she should know how to do it, right? She tried reporting me for that, but ultimately it backfired because they asked her if the work that I did was actually wrong and was then forced to admit that she didn't know what she was looking at. And because of that, everything else in the team was questioned. And I now believe that they are being audited by an external investigator, which means her credibility was absolutely destroyed. I'm now working for a manager who is competent and has clear goals for the team, but that was one heck of a ride. And while it may be a small win against toxic management, a win is a win, and I will happily take that if it means that she loses her credibility and her place in that company is somehow damaged permanently. What an awful manager. I mean, seriously, if you're going to be in that type of position, then you absolutely need to know what the people underneath you are actively doing. I mean, how on earth can you properly manage anybody if you have no idea what they're doing in the first place? That is seriously just stupid if you ask me. So I really don't blame the original poster for getting back at their boss. Their boss sounds absolutely toxic, and they seriously don't sound like a good person. An entitled Karen's card gets declined at my job, and after trying to offer her so many solutions just so she can get her food, she decides to freak out, lie at me, and curse me up and down, and then send her husband in to yell at me as well. And I've honestly never been more confused in my life. Here's what happened. So I used to work at Panera Bread, and one time a woman came in and ordered something on our kiosk, and the kiosk is basically a little computer screen where people can search what they want to eat and insert their card. The restaurant was empty at this time. She was the only one there, and I asked her a few times if she needed any help with anything, but she said no each time. After a while, she walks up to me and asks where her food is, while also saying that it usually doesn't take this long for just a cup of soup. So I go to the computer in the back and see that there are no new orders. Then, just to make sure, I go to the kitchen and I ask the staff there, and they tell me there hasn't been a new order in a while. Her card has been declined, and that's why she didn't get her food. So I go back and I tell her exactly what happened, and that's right about when she gets absolutely furious with me. So I ask her if when she ordered her food, did the screen say it was approved? She then says to me, "No, it didn't say approved, but I know it was charged," which honestly doesn't make any sense. So I said I would be more than happy to ring her up for the soup and that I'll make sure it's top priority in the kitchen. I even offered her a free pastry for the trouble, and instead of being reasonable, she straight up declines it. She then swears at me and storms out of the restaurant. Not even 2 minutes later, her husband comes in and starts to yell at me, stating that the card was not declined. He told me I made his wife feel like garbage and that she was crying in the car because of how I treated her. This man then storms into the kitchen and starts yelling at my coworkers to give him his cup of soup. Now, I didn't know what to do, so I tapped him on his shoulder and I told him he wasn't allowed back there, to which he told me that if I try to hit him, he's gonna call the police. Mind you, he's about 6 feet tall and he's a grown man. While I was maybe, 20 years old at the time, I've always been a pretty small looking girl for my age, so it is hilarious to me that he took the tap on the shoulder as some kind of threat. At this point, the manager notices what's going on. The man was grabbing me by the shoulders and yelling, so my manager had to escort him out of the building. And after that ordeal, my manager allowed me to leave early. And at the end of the day, this was all over a cup of soup that this lady never ordered, and it was something that I was willing to give to them for free and call it my mistake if they had not been complete jerks to me. But this entitled Karen and her husband decided to take the crazy route, and instead of being calm and rational human beings, they decided to act absolutely insane, and that is nobody's fault except their own. Yeah, it really does sound like the entitled Karen of the story was just horribly embarrassed that her card got declined, but instead of fessing up to it and saying, oh, I'll just use another card, or at least like, I don't know, going home or taking the free order, she decided to lie and tell her husband that this original poster was being mean to her, but in fact that never happened. And that is so not fair for the original poster in the slightest. And it is seriously jarring that the Karen's husband would storm into the back kitchen demanding a cup of soup for his wife. I mean, if this guy knew exactly how she was acting, he would probably be thinking twice to going back there and acting like that. So hopefully the original poster never has to deal with these people ever again. They're super entitled, they're really weird, and chances are if they try to pay for anything, their card will probably get declined, and the original poster will just find themselves in the same mess all over again. My girlfriend seems absolutely helpless in doing anything with her life, and now I don't know what the long-term vision of our relationship is going to be, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I first want to start off by explaining why I'm with this woman in the first place. My girlfriend and I have been together for about a year and a half now. We're both graduate students in different fields at the same university. She is one of the most empathetic people I have ever met. She cares so much for animals and people. She's always trying to be as conscious of her actions as possible. Even from our first date, I've always felt like I can talk to her about anything. She's hardly ever judgmental about anything, and she honestly seems to love hearing me talk about my interests. And I really feel like this goes both ways. We're both also huge nerds, and we could talk for hours without getting bored of each other. Her patience seems to be endless. Even when I'm being a total jerk or making a big deal of something stupid, she is always able to have a rational discussion with me. Whenever we fight, which is extremely rare, we always try to reach an understanding rather than try to win the argument. And in the end, we always mutually apologize and make sure we express affection. In short, it's the most communicative and the most loving relationship I've ever been in, and I admire her so much as a person. The issue at hand, however, is that we seem to be on track for codependency. My girlfriend doesn't drive, and we live in an area where driving is extremely important, so I'm taking her around and giving her rides constantly so she can meet her basic needs. I have expressed concern over this, and she has a history of car-related trauma, so she refuses to learn how to drive. There is no negotiation on this matter, so I simply have to be her caregiver in this regard. My girlfriend has no money on account of being a graduate student and not being able to have a job due to not driving, so I usually just have to pay for everything. My girlfriend also has no friends on the account of having severe social anxiety, while I am constantly making new friends and I'm trying to go out and network with people. In contrast, she struggles to go anywhere in public by herself, and this is all without having a panic attack. I try to bring her to social outings, but she frequently says inappropriate things, and I feel constant anxiety about vicarious embarrassment. She doesn't enjoy these social outings either, so most of the time I don't bring her along. It's not that she's lonely. She seems to thrive in solitude, but being the only person in her life outside of her family that she is constantly calling and texting is honestly exhausting. I just need my own space. I will be panicking or trying to write a midterm paper, and she'll call me like 5 times in a row until I pick up, just to then tell me what her cats did. Or she will have to call me before making any decision just to get my approval or my input. She seriously cannot make any decisions on her own. It's tough to set this boundary because when I try to just let her do her thing, she often makes terrible self-destructive choices that honestly baffle me. I have tried to communicate how this bothers me to her, but doing so makes her feel like a burden, and that makes me feel extremely guilty. She recently started therapy, so I'm hoping these things will improve and she will try to become more autonomous, but she has repeatedly expressed that she isn't interested in driving, working, or making friends. Her plans thus far seems to be to depend on me her whole life, and I'm in a field that makes a lot of money. This worries me because I love her so much and she loves me too, but I often don't feel like her partner. I feel like her surrogate dad. I've repeatedly tried communicating all of this to her, and all it has done is make her feel insecure, but she refuses to do anything for herself all the same. So now I'm at a crossroads. I can either leave this loving but flawed relationship or stay and wait for signs of improvement. What should I do? The way your girlfriend is justifying her actions is incredibly toxic. In my opinion, she is absolutely using you, and she plans on using you for the rest of your life. And at least least now you're seeing it early. She could absolutely find another job that's remote, no problem, that works from home. Also, she 100% could make decisions for herself, even if those decisions are self-destructive. And in my opinion, this might be the case of where you just need to step back and let her make her own decisions, even if those are awful decisions in the first place. Like, this is not your fault in the slightest. She is 24 years old, and she needs to step up and be an adult. So hopefully, regardless of what you choose to do in this situation, you're able to find some kind of solution that benefits you. Because at the end of the day, you really will become her caretaker as opposed to her partner. And that, in my opinion, is completely unfair. An entitled Karen falsely accuses me and my coworker of stealing her purse, forcing security to hold all of us behind at the restaurant as they searched through security footage to figure out who did it. And the entire time the investigation was underway, this entitled Karen kept taunting us, claiming that we were gonna go to jail and she was gonna sue the restaurant. Here's what happened. So back in 2014, I was a back waiter on a cruise ship in Hawaii. The ship was in port on a northern island, and my front waiter, who we will call Phil, that's not his real name, as well as myself, were working the dinner shift in the main dining hall. It was, for the most part, your typical steady evening, all the way up until two ladies sat in our section. One of the ladies, who is the Karen of the story, obviously had a little bit too much to drink. In fact, she was red in the face and she was drunk and giggling. During the dinner, the two ladies were having a great time. They were smiling, they were laughing, they were enjoying themselves, and they were actually quite pleasant to wait on. The two ladies finished their dinner and left without any incident happening. Phil and I continued working, but about 20 to 30 minutes later, the drunk Karen returns. She walks right up to me and says to me, "My purse is missing." I replied to her by saying, "Well, no one has sat at the table you and your friend were at since you left, so maybe let's go over there and see if you left your purse behind." I started looking around the table, and it's right about then that the drunk Karen starts shouting at me, "Don't you look for my purse there?" Now this startled me as it happened all of a sudden, and after a moment of being a deer caught in the headlights, I go on to ask what she's talking about. I say to her, "Ma'am, this is where you and your friend ate your dinner. If you don't want me to look for your purse here, then where should I be looking?" This entitled Karen then makes an accusation that truly caught me off guard. She said to me, "You and that other waiter took it, and I want it back right now." Now, when she said this, I was stunned, but I promptly responded by saying, "Ma'am, we did not take your purse. Is it possible that you might have left it in your cabin?" But when I said this really upset this entitled Karen, and she snapped back. She said to me, "How dare you ask me such a stupid question? I would know if I left my purse in my cabin. I know you took it, and I want it back right now." With her screaming, anyone and everyone could hear her, and they were now looking at us. Phil rushes over to try and calm her down, while I went to find the restaurant manager. I filled him in on what was going on, and while walking back towards Phil and the drunk Karen, I warned him. I said to him, "Whatever you do not ask her if she left her purse in the cabin." I did, and it only made her angry. The manager thanked me for warning them, but told me he had to ask her that, as this is part of the line of questioning that he had to do in this situation. Sure enough, this entitled Karen got even more angry when he asked her that question. So now we had a full-scale investigation on our hands. Our section had to be closed down. The passengers dining in our area were inconveniently moved to other sections of the restaurant, and the security team had to come in and question all of us. And this drunk entitled Karen got even more angry when the security team asked her if she left the purse in her cabin. After the questioning, the security team split up. Some went to look for the entitled Karen's friend for additional questioning, while the rest of them went to look over the security footage. They told us that this will take some time, as there are multiple cameras that overlapped our section, and they had to review not only the dinner, but the 20 to 30 minutes after the dinner, when the entitled Karen and her friend left the restaurant, all the way up to when she returned, to see if we had stolen the purse. But they assured her that if we did steal it, they would see it in the footage. So now it's just the restaurant manager, one security guard, this drunk entitled Karen, Phil, and myself waiting around in our empty section for the security team to finish their investigation. The manager and the security officer did a good job of keeping this entitled Karen calm for a while, but she eventually lost her patience and she started to scream, "Why is this taking so long? I know those two stole my purse and I want it back right now. If you delay any longer, I will call the cops and I will have them on board to arrest those two, and I'm gonna sue this cruise liner." Upon hearing this, Phil had had enough, and he started yelling back at this entitled Karen. I even pulled him off to the side to try and calm him down, but he just gets upset at at me and starts to say, "How can you be so calm right now? That lady is threatening to call the cops and have us arrested. Aren't you in the least bit worried that we're going to be going to jail?" So I told him, why would we be worried? We did not steal her purse. The security team will verify this when they finish looking over the security footage. The purse will be found somewhere and everything will be fine, so we have nothing to worry about. Now, this did little to no good calming Phil down, so I decided to change tactics, and I said to him, think of it this way. We are both still on the clock, and we're getting paid right now to stand around and do nothing while we wait for the security team to finish their investigation. Think of it like we're getting an extra paid break during what would otherwise be a standard busy dinner shift. Well, Phil did not find this amusing, and he yelled back at me and saying, "Why aren't you taking this seriously? We could be going to jail and you're making jokes. Don't you have any pride? Where's your integrity?" So Phil is yelling at me, and this entitled Karen is yelling at all of us. Phil is yelling back at this entitled Karen, and things are getting out of hand. Fortunately, a short while later, the entitled Karen's friend walks back into the restaurant with the missing purse in hand. When asked where she found the purse, well, you probably guessed it by now. It was in this drunk entitled Karen's cabin the whole time. I didn't think that this entitled Karen's face could get any more red from the booze she drank and from how angry she was, but she turned 3 shades of red darker from sheer embarrassment. She snatched the purse from her friend's hand and ran out of the restaurant. The friend tried to apologize on the drunk Karen's behalf, but Phil rejected it, and he started yelling. He said, "That lady came in here, accused us of stealing her purse, threatened to call the cops and have us arrested. Yet when the purse was found, she runs out of here without apologizing to us first? What an absolute jerk." The restaurant manager knew that emotionally, Phil was in no condition to keep working, so he told him to clock out for the rest of the night to calm down, and that he can clock back in the next day once he's done so. The manager apologizes to me and asks if I could do the close down procedure for our section on my own. I had no problem with this, since when I was done, I would be clocking off about an hour earlier than usual. As I was finishing up, the manager calls me into his office and says to me, "I want to thank you for how you handled the situation earlier tonight. You were calm and collected, while Phil was losing his cool. But please don't think I was rewarding Phil by letting him off early for his bad behavior. You acted like the experienced front waiter, while he acted like the immature back waiter. He wasn't in the right mindset to continue working tonight, and I promise in the next week or two, I will find a night to give you off as a reward for how you responded to the situation." The entitled drunk Karen never returned to the main dining hall to apologize in person, but she did write an apology letter, which she had her friend deliver on her behalf. Phil was still incredibly angry and wanted to tear up the letter in a horrible rage. This time though, I managed to calm him down and convinced him to be the bigger man and just accept the letter. It may not be the apology that he wanted, but in the end, we are still receiving an apology. And considering the person we're dealing with, I think that's gonna be the best we're probably gonna get. What an absolute scumbag that entitled Karen was. She held up everybody at that restaurant, she made everybody move from their section, and she basically threatened the entire restaurant with a lawsuit, as well as getting these 2 waiters arrested. And it was all literally over nothing. That's the worst part about it. I think if I was in that situation, I would have been upset like Phil. Someone's gonna try and have me arrested all because they're too dumb to know where their purse is? Like, no thank you. I'm absolutely gonna be upset, and I'm gonna let this lady know exactly what's up. I mean, that's some truly entitled behavior if you ask me. And the fact that she didn't have the guts to go back and apologize in person, but instead had to write a note and have her friend deliver it, truly shows how much of a jerk this lady was. So thankfully, this lady never came back, because dealing with someone like this, who's going to make such blatant false accusations against you and your coworker, is something that no one should ever have to deal with. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My girlfriend refuses to make any kind of compromise when making any kind of plans for a holiday, and things have gotten really weird and I now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I live in the United Kingdom, and we have been together for the past 2 years. Last year, we went on our first holiday abroad together, and it was really fun. Before the holiday, we had different ideas of the type of holiday that we would like. I preferred more city holiday, where we could look around somewhere, but my girlfriend preferred beach holidays, where we would do nothing and just relax. Now, I did not like the idea of this, since I don't see the point of going abroad just to relax. It seems like a waste of money to me when you can do it at home. We compromised slightly and went to a city with a beach, but still spent some time looking around. When we got back, my girlfriend admitted that a city break will be better and that she's starting to see beach holidays as being boring. Since November, we've been planning our holiday for this summer. The plan was to travel to 3 cities and spend 10 days exploring what the cities have to offer. We picked one city each and then decided on the third one together. We had picked really cheap places so that we could set a low budget, especially since I'm trying to focus on increasing my savings. We were supposed to book everything last weekend, but when it actually came down to it, my girlfriend just said, "No, we're not doing that. I would prefer a relaxing holiday near a beach," and then started looking at beach resorts. I asked her what was going on, since we had this plan for months now, and she just suddenly changed her mind. I told her that decisions like this need to be discussed, and she just didn't respond to anything I said. I pointed out that the trips she was looking at were way too expensive anyways, since I'm not willing to increase my budget for the trip. Anytime I tried to compromise and suggest somewhere else that we might be able to go, she would just immediately say no without even looking at it. She kept showing me places that just look so boring for me, since I don't see the appeal of paying a lot of money to just do nothing for a week. I ended up just stopping looking at places that she would pick altogether, and she asked if I was angry, so I told her the truth. I said yeah, especially because she let me get excited about this trip that I thought we were both going to be excited and willing to go on, but it's clear to me that she had no intention of going and now expects me to just be fine with somewhere that she picks. I pointed out it's supposed to be a joint decision, yet she seems to think it should be her picking it. She just walked out and said, "Fine, looks like we're not going then." Later in the night, she said I was being unfair and she was only trying to find a nice holiday for the both of us, but I mentioned that we had a nice holiday planned and that we both agreed to it, and now she's just trying to find one for herself and expecting me to just agree with it when she knows my thoughts on the type of holidays she's suggesting. I said if we actually want to go away, we need to find a compromise, since there's no way I'm spending a week just laying by a pool or on a beach, because honestly that does not sound fun to me. But it's clear to me that she doesn't actually want to look around anywhere. She does not want a full holiday experience that both of us could enjoy, and she blatantly just said that if we go away, it has got to be a relaxing holiday. This is all honestly so incredibly frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. First and foremost, the way your girlfriend is acting is super inappropriate. Like, you already agreed on some kind of compromise between the two of you, and it seemed like you had some kind of mutual understanding between the both of you that this is what we're gonna do. It's gonna be a mix of the city as well as the beach. That way both of you can get the most out of the experience and still have a good time and hit the expectations that you were wanting to go with. But it seems like in reality, your girlfriend was just straight up lying to you. She had no intentions of going on this holiday, and she was never gonna let that plan go through. And right now she's making it seem like it's either her way or the highway. And man, is that just unfortunate and so unfair. You had your sights set on some kind of compromise, but she wants it all about her. And I don't blame you for thinking that that kind of vacation is boring. Like, maybe that's just your preference. There's nothing wrong with that. So personally, I think there has to be some kind of compromise, and I really don't think this is your fault in the slightest. It sounds like your girlfriend's being incredibly selfish, and it's as if she just doesn't care what you think or what you want to do. She just wants to go with the expensive beach resort and have it her way or the highway, and that's not fair. So if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would spend that much money on something that I would not enjoy. There has to be a compromise when it comes to situations like this, and you can't possibly be expected to drop all this cash on something that you definitely already know you do not like. So hopefully some kind of middle ground can be achieved, because your girlfriend is being super selfish, and the way she's acting is honestly really not fair. Entitled customers get angry at our prices all the time, and I'm always left scratching my head, trying to figure out the best way to handle their angry tirades. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So for some background, I'm a waiter at a small, locally owned business that is very new. I consider our prices to be fair and affordable, but I've had 2 encounters with people furious over the prices. The big issue here is both times I don't know how to respond. My knee-jerk reaction is to offer a discount, but we aren't allowed to give out discounts unless there's something wrong with a meal or if the customer is aggressive, and we're trying to hurry them off the premises. My boss said giving out discounts to everyone complaining about prices sets a precedent that we can't afford to make, and that they can see the prices on the menu before ordering. The first time, a gentleman came in and asked me if it was $3.99 for a chili dog with onion, mustard, and a side of fries. With those specifications, reservations. And last time he was here, he spent around $8. He handed me the receipt, which listed me as the server. And I literally just looked at it, read it back to him, telling him it's an additional 32 cents for onions. Well, he got mad at me and said that he just won't come here anymore. And then bought something far more expensive. And I just replied by saying, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. And unfortunately, my boss was not here for this one. Later that day though, after my boss had come in, I had an issue with a couple. And at risk of giving away where I work, I'll just say that the woman ordered our specialty hot dogs that have heavy toppings and comes with 2 hot dogs, which is just under $7. The man bought 2 chili dogs and added mayo and onion. The specialty hot dogs don't come with a side, but the regular both come with a side of fries. When I informed them of this, they said they realized last time they are more than satisfied with 1 side of fries and only wanted 1. Choosing not to utilize a side does not change the price though, and it's something that's pretty explicitly stated on the menu. When they came up to the register, they were very agitated that their total was about $16 and some cents. I politely started breaking down the prices for them when the man interrupted me by saying, on your menu, it says you get an extra hot dog for $1.50. And I was a little baffled by this because I've worked here for a while now and have never heard of this. I politely told him I didn't believe that was the case, but that I'd ask my boss if anything, who was, by the way, sitting at the bar like a foot away. As I turn to ask, he gets loud with me and says, you should just check the menu. That's what it says. Check your menu. So I did what he said, and I tried my best to keep my composure. As I informed him, it is $1.50 for a side on the entrees, not an extra hot dog. And of course, this entitled customer starts to huff and puff and yells that he always gets the other hot dog for $1.50, which I know isn't true, as that's literally never been allowed. I finally can't deal with him anymore, and I say that I can't do anything about the prices. I just work here, and my boss is sitting right there if you would like to discuss it with him. Of course, he continues to berate me, throw money at me, and then just leave. In my mind, $16 for 4 hot dogs, toppings, and fries is not bad at all, but that's not what this is about. Is there a better way to handle this? My boss said I didn't do anything wrong and was pretty upset about how they treated me, but I just felt like I could have handled this better if I had any idea of how to even reply to people like this. What should I do? Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that your manager didn't step in. I mean, they were sitting there watching what was going on, sure, but at the end of the day, any kind of disputes like that, in my opinion, really should go to the manager. They should be the one to sort that out and figure out some kind of compromise with the customer, or at least to back you up. I personally cannot stand it when managers just leave you out to dry when they have the authority to get things done. It's not fair in the slightest, and it also loses confidence that you might have in your manager to back you up when conflict goes down. And the fact that they just sat there and watched and didn't say, oh, let me help you out, or even be like, no, that's really our prices, or something, really was incredibly toxic in my opinion, and that is so unfair for you. So honestly, the fault is on your manager, as you didn't do anything wrong, and they really should have stepped in and helped you out the second that guy raised his voice. My husband has been cheating on me with his ex-girlfriend from college, and after catching him in his lies and confronting him about it, he still repeatedly lied to me and went behind my back just to try and see her. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So the title basically says it all. I caught him lying about why he was flying out of town, and I come to find out it was to see a woman that he dated in college. Throughout our 4-year relationship, including being married for 3, I have caught him talking to her on several different occasions, either on social media or on the phone. In the beginning, she was very unreceptive of his advances, and even told him to stop contacting her if he wasn't going to leave me. Initially, she seemed to keep things fairly platonic, which hurt even more, knowing that he was the one who initiated the conversation. We talked about it, and I told him if he continues his behavior, I am leaving. He promised he would stop and blocked her on everything, and that was 2 years ago. I should also say that he has mentioned being unhappy in the past, and we have even discussed divorce, but as someone who comes from a single-parent household, I am dedicated to this marriage, and I want to make it work. He agreed to try therapy and marriage counseling, and we had been doing all right up until the beginning of this year when he flew out of town on a whim. When I approached him about it, he came clean to me immediately and told me that he has no intention of ending communication with her and is still very much interested in separating. So that pretty much threw therapy right out the window. Last month on Valentine's Day, I found out that the weekend earlier, later, he had flown her into our city and spent time with her. And that honestly was the last straw. It broke my heart and I ended up moving out of the house. I left my rings on the kitchen table and I have never felt more disrespected in my life. But here's the thing that really has me second guessing everything. Since I've been staying at my friend's house, he has made every attempt to salvage our marriage. He says that he's blocked her on all social media accounts, as well as blocking her number in general on his phone. I want to believe him because I do truly love him, and I don't know if I will ever trust him fully again, or if we will ever get back to how we were before all of this happened. Thankfully, we don't have any children, but we just only bought a house together, and we have a small business that we run. This is all so very confusing, and I seriously don't know what to do. What an awful situation. Your boyfriend has gone from thinking about it to actively doing it, and I think I would have lost my mind as well if I found out that my significant other flew out their ex to spend some time with them. Like, that is absolutely obnoxious, and it's so inappropriate. Not to mention the fact that they found out about this on Valentine's Day. Like, that is absolutely brutal. So honestly, I don't blame you for moving out and staying with a friend, because you said it best. You don't know if you can ever trust him again. And sure, this guy is probably seeing his marriage going up in flames. And honestly, that's his own fault. He did this to the marriage, not you. And while it's great that he's starting to see the error of his ways, I don't think that gives you any obligation to have to entertain anything that he has to say. And how on earth can you trust anything that he's saying? He says that he blocked her on everything, including social media and his phone, but he has also said that in the past and still went behind your back to do all these awful things. It's hard to believe if anything he's saying is true in the slightest, and that's not fair for you at all. You deserve way better than this. But I think the one silver lining here, if you do decide to break up with him and divorce him in general, is the fact that you don't have any children. That is honestly massive. If there were kids in the mix, this would have made things a lot harder. And while this decision is still very hard, hopefully with whatever you decide to do, you think about yourself first, because your husband has absolutely destroyed your confidence in him. And I don't blame you for second guessing his intentions as well as your marriage. My crazy entitled uncle broke into my house while I was sleeping, all so he could steal my retro video games and video game consoles just so he can have them for himself. And as a result, I'm now in the process of getting a restraining order against my uncle so that he can never pull something like this on me ever again. Here's what happened. So to start things off, when I was younger, I was spoiled. I'm not gonna lie, I really was. I had almost every gaming console a kid could dream of, and my cousin, well, they did not. I would let them play on my consoles when they came over, but I would never let them borrow it because I was so overprotective of them, which I honestly realized was pretty dumb the older I got. Fast forward a few years, my cousin is older and has a job, so he has his own consoles and everything, but has come to collect retro consoles and games, which I had a lot of. He offers to buy some of them and I turned him down because I want to keep my memories and potentially pass them on to my kids so they can experience the games that I had. Well, this is where things kind of go south. My uncle for years basically makes it seem that my cousin is entitled to my stuff simply because of the fact that I denied him borrowing it when I was still rocking Spider-Man pajamas. And as a result, he consistently tries to pressure me into just handing them over. Late in 2022, after I moved out into my own place and have all my consoles and games in storage, my cousin, who quit asking about the consoles after like a month of me saying no by the way, comes over to visit and we're just hanging out and bonding when he gives me a housewarming gift, which was an N64 cartridge of Majora's Mask because it was our favorite game. Now, when my cousin gave me that, my uncle absolutely did not like that. Fast forward 2 nights later and I'm in bed sleeping, and it's right about then that I hear a loud click followed by a snap. I jump out of my bed looking for anything I can use as a weapon while also calling the police in the process. I slowly peek my head out and I see my uncle's bald head glaring in the moonlight, going through my stuff as quietly as he can. After about 10 minutes of him going through my stuff, the cops finally show up. We then go through a litany of questions, and I watch him get put into a cop car and all of that. He broke in through my balcony window. I come to find out later that the click I heard was from the crowbar pushing into the lock and snapping it apart on the window. Also, the window was completely spiderwebbed and basically shattered. Thankfully, when assessing the damages, nothing was stolen. Fast forward to about 2 days later, monitor, and since the incident, I've bought some cameras off of Amazon. They're not the best, but they alert my phone and they are hidden. And when it comes to pressing charges, my cousin has asked me not to press charges. He's gone through a lot since the pandemic and couldn't handling losing his pops as well. I understand it's not exactly the best response, but he is my family. But I will say I am in the process of getting a restraining order, just to ensure that my uncle never comes near my stuff ever again. That uncle sounds absolutely unhinged. I mean, he seriously took it from like 0 to 1,000 pretty quickly. Who goes from, hey, you should hand over all your stuff and give it to your cousin, all the way up to, oh, that's okay, I'll just break into your house and steal it from you anyways. Like, that is seriously insane to me, and there is quite literally no good excuse for that type of action. Like, what was this guy thinking? Did he think that he would get away with this, and that he was some kind of stealthy ninja trying to steal some gaming consoles? Also, the original poster's cousin can have it for themselves? Like, give me a break. I'm starting to see why the original poster said, you know what, I'm not going to give you any of this. I'm going to keep this to myself, and you're not allowed to borrow it as kids. Because I bet you with the uncle in the picture, they probably would have never gotten any of that back, and what was previously borrowed would have probably become the property of the uncle, and this guy would have never seen it again. The original poster goes on to say that the only reason they did not take any kind of action and press charges against their uncle was because their cousin stepped in. If the cousin did not step in, then they say they would have absolutely pressed charges, which honestly, I would be pressing charges anyways. If I was in the original poster's shoes and my uncle broke into my house trying to rob me blind and tried to take my gaming consoles, you know, the things that are retro and probably valuable at this point, I would be furious. Some of those consoles and game cartridges and all the stuff I've collected as a child mean a lot to me personally. So I understand where the original poster's coming from, where you want to try and keep your stuff safe and keep it out of the greedy hands of those who would want to take it and sell it off for themselves. And the uncle of this story absolutely fits the bill. So hopefully you're able to get a restraining order sooner than later, because your uncle sounds incredibly creepy, and the fact that he would break into your house for something like this is more than enough evidence for you to know that this guy is not someone that you should want in your life. If you like AmITheJerk, you're probably going to love AmITheGenius. Check it out, link down below in the description. The bar I work at in the restaurant I'm employed with is being closed down 2 months ahead of time for renovations. And not only was I blindsided by this information, I am also now stuck trying to figure out what I'm gonna do work-wise. And I'm so angry over this situation, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I've worked in the food industry for a good minute, about 5 to 6 years now, and I've spent the last 2 years of that bartending, and close to a year of that being at a chain restaurant that you may or may not have heard of. And let's just say that my time has been interesting. High turnover rates, bouncing between low hours to working doubles back to back, inventory being poorly handled, to the point where I'm making all my cocktails with vodka and a hope and a prayer. All this with a promise of a big renovation that'll fix everything. And this renovation has also been pushed back 4 times now. In the time I've been there, I have seen 7 bartenders and countless servers quit or get fired. And this includes managers, and who knows how many in the back of house. All this to say that it's an absolute mess. A lot of it because of poor management, as well as the owners coming in and changing up a laundry list of rules that can only come up from people who haven't worked inside a restaurant for probably the last 15 years. But this Friday tops it all. I came in after a nice refreshing weekend to see my bar now has a giant wall with a little door for staff to go through and a sign that says bar closed. I asked my manager what was going on, and they say to me, renovations are coming up, so they're getting a head start on the bar. You won't be taking any bar tops, just make drinks for the servers. This will be the way it is until renovations officially begin in 2 months. So I asked them, what about my tips? That's more than 1/3 of my income I'm gonna be losing out on because of this. To which, after just now finding out today, the owners say, oh well, either keep on trying to get by with your meager hourly and tip outs, or host and make drinks, but we're only gonna pay you the host wage. I am so upset. I'm furious that these people can be so callous towards someone who's stuck around when there have been so many times I should have left. Who can have such a disregard for someone who's been trying to make a living and enjoying the job while doing it? These last few days of work have been me standing behind the bar being miserable, making the few drinks that come in every other half hour. I absolutely hate it. I miss chatting with my regulars. I miss making drinks for people whose reactions I can see, as well as just talking to the people who might wander up to my bar. I even miss some of the jerks who could never be satisfied. Right now, I'm miserable, and my income has been cut because I decided a 11 months ago, I wanted to bartend here. I am looking for other jobs, and though I know it will be difficult, what with the hiring markets looking like they are right now, I am hopeful I can get out of this strut. It's unfortunate that I'm being driven out, but I hope at the end of all this, I'll find myself in a new bar with a management staff that will hopefully appreciate my hard work. What an awful thing to do to your employee. I mean, first off, they're closing down the bar 2 months before renovations. Like, that's just dumb if you ask me. They haven't even begun renovations and they're just like, okay, let's close the bar. Like, maybe close it down like, I don't know, a week beforehand and tell the bartender like, hey, you're gonna be losing this spot in 2 months. That way they can have some kind of proper notice to either stick around and stay or to find a new job. Like, there's no reason for them to have to suffer with their employment just because the owners are complete morons about how they're doing it. I mean, the managers had to have known what was going on beforehand. So why did nobody bother to give you a heads up in the first place? That is really low down and incredibly dirty. So hopefully with your job hunt, everything goes well, because this place clearly did not value you as a worker, and I honestly think you can do so much better than this terrible place. I'm afraid that my boyfriend will end our relationship if I move and take a job out of state, and at this point, I don't know what to do. So for some background, I have been at my current job for less than a year, and it has been absolutely miserable. I work for the state government, and it's just a good old boy system that I wasn't ready for. I work too hard and have been told once by a manager, and then again by another manager and HR, that I am too aggressive, which is dumb, because I was holding a man accountable for something we pay him $250,000 to do a year, and it's made coming to work sad, annoying, and it is draining. Right now, I have the option to interview for a QA position that's about an hour and a half away from the house we share with roommates, and it does pay better than my current job, but still not as much as I was hoping, starting at like $55,000 a year. I was approached by the company I used to intern for, and they want me for a QA management position, which could start out at $80,000 a year, but it is in Pennsylvania, and we currently live in Kentucky. Before I decided I didn't want to go to grad school, I was talking about going away, and he said long distance wasn't worth it, and we probably would have to break up if I did go long distance. Him saying that alone gives me so much anxiety around telling him that if they offered, I might move to get a better job, but I just know he is going to say I am not prioritizing our relationship or prioritizing him by moving. But honestly, when do I get to be the priority? I would never hold my significant other back from an opportunity that would help them excel in life. The company I would work for out of state would even help me get my master's degree if I wanted. Is there any way when I talk to him about it to make him understand that the long distance would be only temporary and that we could do it, and that he should want what's best for me? I mean, I know those relationships are hard, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm just so sad at the fact that I think he would end our relationship if I did have to move long distance. I truly have loved him more than anyone else, and I don't want anything else, but I also want to be successful in my lifetime. What should I do? It honestly is kind of a catch-22. On one hand, you're around your boyfriend and you're able to enjoy his company face to face, but at the same time, you really do hate your current job, and you've already been mislabeled as something that you're not at work, simply by trying to do your job. And that's not fair in the slightest. That really isn't. So to that end, I really don't blame you for trying to find a new job and better yourself and your career. And you know what? If you did get an offer from this other place and they gave you the added bonus of getting your master's degree taken care of, then man, that would be a big wasted opportunity to not say yes, especially if this isn't a career that you want to excel in. So with that in mind, and with all things considered, it's honestly really disappointing to see your boyfriend basically being like, oh, if you move far away from Kentucky, we're gonna have to break up. It's almost like he just doesn't care about your situation in the slightest, and he's only judging the situation off of what would be considerate and convenient for him, despite the fact that you're miserable at your job. And while yes, long distance relationships really can work, but both parties have to be on board, and it really does sound like your boyfriend would not be up for that. So honestly, if I was in your shoes and a job offered me not only a good job out of state, but also with the opportunity that they would help me get my master's degree taken care of, you better believe I'm gonna go for that degree and pursue my passions to the best of my ability. There is no way I would let up that opportunity in the slightest. You deserve it to yourself, as well as the hard work you put in just to get a 4-year degree in the first place, which by the way is not easy and it's not for everybody. So hopefully there's some kind of middle ground you can make with your boyfriend, because the way he's acting is really unfair for your goals and your aspirations. And I really think you deserve a lot better than getting treated like garbage at work and being miscategorized as someone who's aggressive. perspective when you're just trying to hold people accountable and be the upstanding worker that you know you can be. My girlfriend is making me feel awful about still living at home, and it really hurt my feelings, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my girlfriend of almost a year is making me feel pretty awful about my living situation. She is so kind and loving and understanding, but she doesn't realize how much this is hurting me. She doesn't come from a great family, and they kicked her out as soon as she turned 18. So she was thrown right into independence way before she should have been. I, on the other hand, have a very helpful and loving family. I dropped out of college 7 years ago, and time has kind of flown by. I have never had a girlfriend before, so I really didn't spend much time planning a future or a timeline. I was just kind of seeing where things were gonna go. My girlfriend told me when we first started dating that she's looking for something serious. She wants to get married, she wants to have kids, and she wants this in the next few years. I agreed, and I said I am looking for the same. I also have a decent paying job right now, so it's not like I'm just laying around not doing anything. She told me that before we move in together, I should spend time living alone by myself so I can learn about finances and expenses. I applied for one apartment on Zillow and didn't hear anything back, so I kind of just gave up. But I do want to move in with her though. My parents pay pretty much all of my bills except for my car. They pay my insurance, my food, my phone bill, etc. They also deal with all the insurance specifics. I have been trying to find my own insurance, and my girlfriend seems to look down on me when I struggle to do it or attempt to apply. Since I'm on their current medical insurance right now, my mom helps me find a doctor since they're in her network. She was a bit rude when she was explaining the cost of living to me, and I told her I don't really know how much groceries cost since my family pays for them. She said to me, "You really don't know how much toilet paper costs?" Or even complaining to me that I don't know how much my phone bill is. I feel so judged, and she needs to realize that barely anybody her age is doing what she's doing. All of my friends live at home right now, and some don't even have jobs and do nothing with their life. But I'm honestly really heartbroken by the things that my girlfriend said, and I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, I think to an extent your girlfriend has a point. For some context, the original poster is 26 in this story, and I think if you want to be seen as some kind of serious relationship option for this lady, you really do need to get your stuff figured out. And that includes knowing how to pay for your bills, which by the way, you don't do a lot of that at all. You've never lived alone, you don't even make your own doctor's appointments. I mean, with all things considered, despite the fact that she was maybe a little bit rude about it, I think she has a solid point. Also, it really sounds like you're not taking any steps to be more independent. Like, yeah, she got kicked out when she was 18 years old, and she had to basically figure life out as it went, and that is definitely not an easy way to go about life, and it can be jarring and really frustrating. But you know what? If she can make it work, then so can you. So maybe looking for an apartment of your own and learning how to pay for basic bills and stuff like that, as well as knowing the basic cost of living, would probably go a really long way for you. And I don't think this has to do with the fact that you live at home. I think it's more to the fact that you don't do any necessary adult things, even though you're an adult in the house. So instead of sulking about it, I think you just need to listen to what she's saying. Just be humble about it and try and see where she's coming from. Because I don't think she's saying these things to make you feel bad about yourself, but rather it really does sound like she's trying to help you move forward with your life. And I really have to disagree with what you're saying when you said that barely anyone her age is doing what she's doing. That is so incorrect, it's not even funny. There are many independent people who are much younger than her, who are more put together and more independent than what you're describing. So hopefully you can apply yourself and be the man that she's looking for. Because what you've described right now is really sheltered, and it really seems like you're in a bubble. And hopefully sooner than later, you can figure out what it means to be an adult and provide for yourself. My entitled boss demands that I ship equipment to him that he literally would just have to ship across the country again just to get it to its proper location. And after having my job getting laid off, I decided to maliciously comply. And as a result, I cost the company hundreds of dollars in the process. And it truly felt amazing. Here's what happened. A couple of years ago, I took a fantastic job as an IT manager in a remote role for a healthcare company. It was the best job I'd ever had. The best salary, the total freedom. I had a wonderful boss who trusted me to do my job. I was brought on to create an internal IT team, and this was for a company that had 19 offices in 3 US states, and I was given free reign to create the team I saw fit. I hired a great admin for both our California and Missouri markets, and I served that role for Alabama. The employees loved us. Most tickets were resolved in an hour or two, instead of the outsourced company taking a day or two, and maybe not even fixing the issue in itself. We were saving the company close to $500,000 per year just in outsource costs versus the salaries that they provide us. It was absolutely glorious. But my boss ended up deciding to become a stay-at-home dad. I was looking to advance to his position, but our new CEO instead created a new vice president of IT position for a guy she had worked with for 7 previous years. Sadly, the new guy was the micromanager of all micromanagers. He had the company credit card closed, and I went from discretionary limit of $10,000 all the way down to having to ask for his approval on $10 network cables. He put himself on every account, removed most of my authority, and in effect, I was basically demoted. One day, I visited one of our sites and picked up a bunch of stuff. 5 desktop PCs, a carton full of keyboards, mice, and cables, weird odds and ends. The idea was that I would take it to one of our other facilities and store it there, save the desktop PCs that I would ship to our outsource partner. Well, I went on vacation, only to come home to discover that the previous Friday had been my last day. I was getting 2 weeks severance, and they were eliminating the department entirely. I asked the vice president about the equipment, and he told me to ship all of it to him, and he would dispense of it. Now, I assumed he wanted me to ship it to the outsource company, or at least to do so with the PCs, but no. The thing is, the vice president lives in Colorado. We have no branches there. The outsource partner is in Missouri, meaning that no matter what, he would at least be reshipping those PCs to Missouri. Oh well, not my problem anymore. I went to FedEx and I carted all that garbage in there. They offered me various methods, but I told them that it was all going on the company's account. I told them to ship it ground, but to do so in whatever method made them the most money. Friends, they spent well over 3 hours carefully wrapping and padding all of that equipment. It charged the company several hundreds of dollars. By my best estimate from previous shipping that I had done with them, it was about triple of what it should have been. And of course, the vice president also had to pay to ship those desktops again. But hey, he told me to do it. The company held my severance until they got the equipment, so I guess I satisfied their requirements or something like that. But now I've moved on to better things than those people. I did have to take a small pay cut, and it did take me 3 months to find a good job, but I did find that good job, and I honestly couldn't be happier to be away from the people that I previously worked for. That is honestly so funny to me, and really is hilarious when it comes to maliciously complying to some sort of manager. Oh, you want me to ship it all the way to you in Colorado, even though this gear needs to go to Missouri? Cool, we're gonna do this in the most expensive way possible, and it's coming out of your budget because guess what? I don't work there anymore. So while I'm sorry that the original poster lost their job, and under stupid circumstances at that, at least you were able to get the last word by costing this company hundreds of dollars in the process. Because based on what you described, they deserve this kind of bad karma to come their way. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, what are you doing if you haven't subscribed, bro? Like, come on now. Hit the bell, turn on notifications, do all that beautiful stuff. We love and appreciate you guys so much. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.